Prerequisite, yes.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Heavy Metallurgy, number 66. We're cruising right along here. Of course, there's been more episodes. If any of you are so inclined, we also shoot a couple throughout the week, too. So be free to go over there and check those out. Alan, other than a little hay fever, how are you doing today?
Doing okay. It's been a busy week, and I think I got a little bit of the seasonal hay fever in my system. So if I sound a little funny on the mic tonight, folks, I apologize. Busy week, but can't really complain. Got to do some back to school shopping tomorrow with the little guy. But before we do that, going to have some fun tonight. How are you doing tonight, Marty?
I'm doing okay. I'm excited about tonight. A good friend on the show again tonight, coming back, is return performance. And what are we going to be talking about along with that before we get into introductions?
Oh, well, tonight we're going to be talking a bit about power metal. It's genre. Some folks love it. Some folks really don't love it. And that's one of the things we want to talk about a little bit is the reactions to power metal. Sometimes when we're talking about it, you can just see people start leaving the stream or the chat. There's a joke with some folks like, "Oh, you guys are trying to talk about that. I'm not interested. I'll see you in 2 weeks." And it's kind of funny. It's like, why does that genre get perhaps a bit more maligned than some other genres do? What does it mean to be power metal? What does it mean not to be power metal? Where do you draw those lines? I think some of it, there are some terminology things that can be confusing that we'll get into with our guest tonight as well. And then, of course, we'll show some favorite albums, have some obvious ones, I'm sure, maybe have a few more obscure ones, and looking forward to seeing what folks in the chat have to say about power metal as a genre and what albums they want to shout out as well. Folks in the chat always come up with a lot of really cool things to add along the way.
Yep. But without further ado, let's get this gentleman on here. Andrew Nechochwen is a very talented musician. He's a super sweet human. I've at this point been working with him for a great number of years, whether through Nechochwen or some of his mastering work and other little things he's done over the years. He's a super sweet guy. He's amazingly talented. They just put out this new Ironflame album, Where Madness Dwells, and we wanted to get him on to talk about this. Also, there's a Nechochwen record that we've shown a bunch on here that he's also very much involved in, and let's get him on here. Andrew, welcome back. How's it going, man?
Good. How are y'all?
Good.
Doing good. Thank you for joining us again. It's been almost a full year, or it's been right at a year since you were last on, so can't believe it's been that long.
Hasn't been a year. Oh,
wow.
Yep.
What was it? Mysterious metal was the topic, I think.
We did mysterious metal at the end of last July. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess it has been a year. Jeez.
Wow. Time flies.
Too fast. The older you get, the faster it goes.
It does. Running downhill in a shopping cart on fire. That's where it goes.
I call it circling the drain is what I call it.
All right. But you've had a pretty exciting year. You're a very, very, very busy guy. You own Sacred Sound Studios, and you, of course, work at Hot Rod Tattoos down in Martins Ferry. Yep. So a lot of stuff going on there. But you've been a part of the new Nechochwen record, Kanawha Black, which came out. It's doing really well. Thanks to everybody out there that supported it.
Yes.
Great album. Yep.
And this is hot off the presses.
It is.
But before we get into this, I do want to go through a few things. Before Ironflame, Ironflame. Whoops, that's good for it. Started off when Lightning Strikes the Crown.
Yep. 2017, 2018.
Tales of, I can't remember.
Splendor and
Sorrow. Blood Red Victory.
2020.
And now we've got Where Madness Dwells. And leading up to Ironflame, anybody that knows you, you've got a studio.
Mm-hmm.
And you are a obvious adorer of music, and you're a very talented musician. You're a multi-instrumentalist. You're a fantastic singer. So over all these years, you have kind of dabbled. Whether it's black metal with Moon Throne or Unwilling Flesh, which is total HM2 buzzsaw sweet death.
Yeah.
You and your missus did Hoof and Horn, which is just a complete black metal thing.
Yep.
You've played drums for Obsequii. I mean, you're also involved in Brimstone Coven, which is a very active band as well. Maybe
Yep.
not as active as Icarus Witch, who you're also a singer of,
Yep.
or Ironflame, but still you're out there playing shows, you're doing the work.
Oh yeah, we're chugging away.
I gotta ask, my first question regarding Ironflame.
Yes.
Did it kind of start off the same way all these other projects did? This is for fun. I've got a studio. I'm fucking around. I like this style of metal. I'm going to play it. And all of a sudden people start saluting and then you went, wait a minute. Is this the aha moment where people like finally one of these projects, it really, people saluted and it kind of inspired it to continue?
The last part of that story is correct. The first part, not so much. Most of my projects do start out with me being bored or inspired by something and be like, I want to do something in this vein. But Ironflame started, it was purely as a tribute. If you remember the band I was in, Dofka, years ago, we had
I forgot to pull that CD, damn it. Yeah.
What's that?
I forgot to pull that Dofka CD. Anyway.
Well, when I was in Dofka, we had a go-to sound guy named Chris Zenner, and he ran sound for all of our shows if we had any say in the matter, because he was really good and he knew our music. He knew where all the cues were to put the delays and the effects and stuff. Well, anyway, he was a fantastic singer as well. He passed away very suddenly from a brain aneurysm. And that was in 2016, October 2016. And Dofka reunited temporarily to play a benefit show to pay for his funerary expenses. And it all kind of coalesced at once. The reunion show, me getting back on stage with Dofka, me singing traditional metal again, and then more so, it tugging at my heartstrings about Chris, because Chris, you know, at the end of the Dofka show, we'd both be drunk, and he was a fantastic, like, Dio level singer. And we'd be drunk, and we were both humble people, and we would both playfully argue about who was the better singer. I would always say, no, dude, you're way better than me. He'd say, no, dude, you smoke me. It kind of sunk in on me after he passed and put a lot of things in perspective. And I said, you know what? I haven't sang traditional heavy metal in years, and Chris would probably be disappointed in me for that. That really kind of gnawed at me. So I said, you know what? I'm going to make a traditional metal album just for Chris, in honor of Chris. And if you look on the back of that album, it says in loving memory of Chris Zenner. So that was the main reason for that album and that album alone. And I thought, okay, I'll make this tribute album to him. My soul will feel better, and I'll move on and go on with my life. And I wanted to do it on vinyl because it was traditional metal. It harkened back to the 80s and early 90s, and I just wanted it to have that feel. So I dropped to the change and ordered 150 vinyl. And then, if I dropped the money on it, I had to sell it. So I did push it on social media to try and sell the 150 copies that I had. Made a couple of little promo videos to hype it up before it came out. And, it just, people started listening to it and really liking it. And
it's really catchy. You've got a great ear for it.
It was very just circumstantial. Brimstone was booked to play Legions of Metal in Chicago. And it was a weird fit because I never considered Brimstone to be a metal band. Well, as it happened, Brimstone had to bow out for one reason or another, and it coincided with Ironflame. And Jim Dofka convinced me to create a live band out of it, at least just to play a show or two, just to sell the records. So all that was happening at the same time. I reached out to Reggie's in Chicago and said, hey, Brimstone can't play Legions of Metal, but I have this other project, and we're playing live, and I think it's actually a better fit for Legions of Metal. Here, listen to it. And I reached out to Bob Byrne, who's the promoter for that show, and he listened to it and was like, oh, yeah, come and play. So we played there. It got really well received. Bob is really good friends with Oliver that puts on Keep It True in Germany, and he name dropped us to Oliver, who invited us to play Keep It True. We got our foot in the door in Germany, and then the rest is basically history. So it's just
Yep.
all kind of blossomed from there. Just a series of fortunate events, you could say.
Right. And the project's really kind of grown from strength to strength. I mean, there's a very strong consistency in your writing throughout all the records. But this one is maybe a little bit more progressed. I would say you got the whole band. I mean, did you still predominantly write all the material on this, or were the other guys?
No, I wrote every note except for the solos, as usual. Like, I'm not a
Yep.
solo player, so my guitar players Quinn and Jesse did all the solo work on there. But song-wise, structure-wise, it's still the same formula. I write everything, I perform everything.
Right on.
But you're right, stylistically it's changed. But it's funny that you say that it's more progressive, because to me, it's a more stripped down, raw affair. And I was kind of shooting for that intentionally, just to. Well, once you continue to write music for so long under the same banner or same name, you run the risk of repeating yourself, and you don't want to do that as an artist. You don't want to get stale for yourself or for your fan base. So I intentionally tried to break it up and thought, well, what's the staple of our sound? 99% of the time, you can predict our song structures, as the song transpires. It's very cookie cutter, and it very much relies on the hook of the harmony guitars. It's all about the harmony guitar hooks. So let me try and stray away from that and see if I could write a song that doesn't rely on those. So if you really pay attention to the songs on that album, there's harmonies, but they're not the main focus. They might come in at the end of a solo section and might only get played 3 times, 4 times, and then it goes to the end of the song. Instead of it beating you in the head every time in the chorus. If you listen to the choruses, there's really not a lot of harmony guitars going on. It's a lot more riff-based song structuring compared to the other albums.
Well, and the vocals are, of course, carrying the harmonies too. I mean,
well, that too. But again, if you listen to it, there's a lot less layering going on in the vocals as well compared to the other ones. I made a conscious effort again to try and make it more stripped down.
My first reaction to this album, Everlasting Fire, Under the Spell, I'm like, yeah, this is really good. Solid. He's right back on target. But then it gets to Kingdom of Lies and A Funeral Within. And it's like, I'm sorry. I mean, you say stripped down. It just seems like the songs are so well written. Those 2 songs seem like you took what you've been doing, and it just, I don't know. It's just like the right combination of everything. A Funeral Within's kind of has a doomy crawl to it a little bit, but the melody and your vocals are just so on point. And the songs are both very well written. And after that, I was just like, okay, this album is a definite step up, and it carries through to the end. I mean, Ready to Strike, of course, is the beer and Fist in the Air, heavy metal pounder. But you guys did a really great job on this.
Well, thanks, man. It's an angrier and sadder and more aggressive album than we've ever done. And it's a byproduct of where my head was at the time. A few months prior, I lost my best friend / business partner.
Sweet Chuck.
To cancer.
Yep.
Chuck.
Cheers, Sweet Chuck.
Yeah.
He was a great guy, man.
And, it shattered my world and everyone's world around me. And then, that coincided with, we were business partners, and then all of a sudden our business was now my business, and all the responsibilities of that business fell onto my shoulders. And that coincided with trying to process his death. And then, right as soon as I thought maybe I could have a grip on it, then 8 weeks later, COVID hit and the whole world shut down. So it was just a series of massive blows to my soul. I experienced depression for the first time in my life. I'm 46 years old, and I was depressed for the first time in my life, and I didn't know how to deal with it. So I thought that I was like, I could either dive into a bottle, or go into some other vice and lose myself and let everyone around me that's depending on me down, or I could do this the healthy way and try and exercise it through some music. So that's what I did. And that's why this album is so aggressive and sad and angry and all those emotions. And that's why the title is what it is. Every song deals with the concept of madness in one way or another. It's drenched in allegory as far as the lyrics are concerned. They're all about very personal things, either that were going on inside of me or around me at the time. And I was really, really concerned. I felt great once I recorded it and let it out of me. But then once I looked at it at face value, I thought, well, what are the fans going to think? Because Ironflame normally never writes anything like that. It's always more, the subject we're talking about tonight, anthemic, fist pounding, fantasy themed things. And this was all so much more angry and sad and reality based that I wasn't sure how people were going to take it. But then once the reviews started coming in, thankfully I was only hoping that people that listened to it were feeling the same way I was, because I know, there was some personal things I had going on, but the pandemic and everything else that affected everyone. I know in one way or another. I don't care how strong a person you are.
It still is. It still is.
Everyone. So
I've been to one restaurant. I've been to one restaurant since 2019, and it was 2 months ago, and I felt weird being in it. To be honest,
there you go.
Broken. I mean, it's taken already. Probably a little screwed up people and further broken them down.
I know, man. It sucks. It still sucks. I mean, it's returning to normal slowly. I mean, the world can't be on pause for that long.
We can't hide forever. No, it's
time.
time.
To get on with our lives, and eventually we're going to have to just accept that virus as like a shadow in the corner of the room. That it's a potential risk. It's always just going to be there. Sadly.
Alan, I've been rambling. Do you have something you'd like to talk to Andrew about?
No, that's fine. Again, like I said, with throat's a little scratchy, I'm not jumping in on stuff. But no, I think the way you've described it, Andrew, is kind of what I hear. It's a more forceful album. It's a more straightforward album in ways compared to the others. It still feels like Ironflame. It doesn't feel like it belongs to a different project.
No, it didn't sound different.
Yeah, I mean, you listen to it's like, this is Ironflame, but it's a much more, for lack of a better term, immediate album. You're playing it and it really grabs you very quickly. The other albums are always very good, but you play them over and over, you get deeper into them. This one is, a very immediate reaction, just like, really right there in front of you. I wouldn't say it's stripped down, but I mean, it's very right there on face value. You get it right away. It's easy to get into, and it has a very good balance of, the power, the melody. Like you said, maybe a little bit more anger, but not over the top, not out, it's not outrageous or anything like that. I think that's why folks reacted to it very well, that it still has the Ironflame sound, but different in a good way. That was all I was worried about, really. It was it still Ironflame, and thankfully you, Marty, all the people whose opinions that I value, and people who I don't know, people who have reviewed it have all, resonated the same thing. So I feel a lot better now that it's out and I'm getting feedback.
Now, there's one thing I did notice right away. And I mean, this is a behind the scenes thing, and, people may not be interested about the shit like this, but I know you've updated your computer and your DAW, your recording system.
Yes.
There's something, I mean, all of your shit that I've ever heard you record sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
This album, it sounds like everything is sitting together much better. Everything is warmer, more together. I don't know what sort of magic you put into this. I mean, I know you're working with some different gear. You might have some different plugins. I don't know.
A lot more time on the mixing than probably I ever have with.
It shows. It shows. Yeah. It's a very warm, organic, very earthy feel to this record. Everything has got its own separation, but it all kind of intertwines really well with each other. I don't know. It's just a really warm vibe to it, and I really like it. It's
normally I don't spend as much time on a mix than I did with this one, and it was because I felt like I had all the time in the world because the world was still on pause. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to take my sweet own time with this and see what happens. So I did apply some mixing techniques that I hadn't applied before, and the only other album that I applied it to was the new Nechochwen,
which also sounds fantastic.
I think it's evident in that too.
Yep.
But it's basically a layering thing with compression, and I think there's a noticeable difference.
I think Tim's comment here puts it really nicely.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I appreciate that, Tim.
Well, awesome. And is there anything else you want? Obviously, you just got back from Europe. They just got back this week.
Yep.
From a little jaunt through Europe and Germany. And I mean, is it just full steam ahead on whatever shows and tours you can book between now and then as far as busy schedules?
It's winding down now. Every band I'm in has like a show season because I don't like, well, I'm the driver most of the time, and I don't like driving in bad weather. I take it very seriously that I'm, holding other people's lives in my hands. So normally we have a cycle, and like anywhere from like November to April, we just won't book anything because it's dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And you never know what the weather's going to do. And other people don't show up to shows because of bad weather too. So, and it kind of forces a hand of creating a cycle of, okay, well, this is show season. It's time to put, writing aside and focus on playing shows and flexing on stage. And then when winter comes, it's like, okay, well, it's time to put that away, and it's time to focus on writing and rehearsing new material. So it kind of forces you into a healthy cycle of progress, so you never get mired down into one aspect of being in a band, be it prepping for shows constantly or constantly writing and recording and not being able to play shows because you're in the middle of a record.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yep. Drunken Metalhead says that Nechochwen is such a dynamic record and switches beautifully between acoustic and death metal guitar. Well done. Agreed.
Thank you, man. It's not an easy thing. Of Ironflame and bands like that are much easier to handle because it's pretty consistent all the way through. Once you get the guitar set, once you get the level set in general, you can kind of use one song as a template and roll with the rest of the record, and it all sounds pretty decent at the end. But Nechochwen is such a constantly shape-shifting beast when he comes to everything that he does, his tuning, his choice of guitars that he tracks with, his song structuring, absolutely everything is, I don't want to say it's as difficult as can be, but he just presents challenges to me left and right. And I'm not complaining about it. I mean, I accept those challenges, but it's not an easy accomplishment to build a Nechochwen record and have it sound dynamic like he just said. It's definitely a tall order.
I've always been a fan out of your studio and your ear for recording acoustic instruments.
Thanks.
I mean, one of the first things I really was drawn to. I'm not the biggest acoustic classical guitar guy, but you hear acoustic guitar on metal records, and I just always loved how organic you captured Aaron's playing. The acoustic instrument. You always knew the mic to use, where to put it. I don't know. It just always sounded.
Well, he always has great instruments too, and it all starts at the great playing and the great instrument. But he has a habit of a lot of songs say like the Murky Deep, for example, to where if you really think about it, once that clean guitar starts in the beginning, if you listen, it never goes away. It's constantly through the entire song. It's like in the foundation and the bedding of the song. And then when all these heavy elements rise up and surround it, it still has to be heard somehow underneath all that heaviness. Therein lies the challenge when it comes to Aaron and the way he writes stuff.
Yeah,
definitely tough.
And Ben, thanks for ordering that new Ironflame. For anybody that's interested, I have put Bandcamp links in the description to all of Andrew's projects.
Thank you, Saltpeter.
From Ironflame, Icarus Witch, Brimstone Coven. I'm sure there's another one I'm forgetting. Yeah. And go check it out and give this gentleman some money.
I'm really glad Saltpeter there cited Grim Reaper, because at least on the first song, at least Everlasting Fire, I fucking love Grim Reaper. I think they're one of the best heavy metal bands that ever existed. And every time I listen to them, I just get so pumped. And I definitely had a tangible thought before writing this. I was like, I want to write a Grim Reaper fist pumper. And I focused on Everlasting Fire. That was my best Grim Reaper impression, basically. So thanks.
Well, before we got Andrew out here in the dugout, we were all having a little conversation about power metal off camera. That hopefully we can bring some of that what we were discussing in the background to everybody out here tonight. But so you were saying that a lot of people consider Ironflame to be a power metal band.
We got labeled power metal right out of the gate, and I frowned. And every time I see it thrown into a review, I frown again. Well, I feel a certain way. That's why I'm glad we're talking about this tonight. I feel a very certain way about power metal, and I'm not the biggest fan of it, but maybe it's because I don't know. So maybe we should start by, and I guess this is probably going to vary, but what makes power metal power metal? So mine's easy and short, so I'll get mine out of the way. What I feel power metal is it's got to be triumphant. It's got to be uplifting. To me, it always has to have some sort of orchestral or symphonic tinge in it. It doesn't always have to have keyboards, but it has to be symphonic in some way, as even when you're talking about the chord progressions that the guitars are using in the song structures. What I feel is the strongest thing that makes power metal is the fantasy-based lyrics and the storytelling aspect of the lyrics. So am I real off base here as far as what y'all consider power metal or what? Besides the soaring vocals too.
I think you nailed European power metal.
Okay, let's see. We had this conversation before we started the recording, and I said, well, maybe what I think power metal is just purely based on a European perspective.
What do you think, Alan? Let's get you in there. I've been rambling enough.
Yeah. No, it's good. No, yeah, I think what Andrew described is one type of power metal, and I think it is what a lot of people picture or hear in their head. If I say power metal, a lot of people think something like this. Stradivarius,
golden fucking dolphins on your
golden dolphins jumping through the ocean, and and you immediately start thinking, like you said, symphonic musicianship, and maybe
jumping through a stripper tattoo,
diva attitudes and stuff. They think this kind of thing, dragon, sword, big chanty sing-along chorus done in A. But for a lot of people, power
they think this.
They think that kind of thing. Yeah,
that's power metal AF. Yeah.
Yep.
You've got the Ren Fair frilly attire and some poor fucker wearing a mask.
Right.
Yeah.
That plays keyboards on the album and is called the Wizard, by the way.
Wow. I like that. That's like the mystery aspect we talked about last.
Mystery. Yes.
Yep. But power metal does cover more ground than that.
Here you go, Chromie. Power metal was Armored Saint again.
Savage
Grace.
This could be
really
power metal.
See, I love Savage Grace, and I would never put them in the power metal category myself.
Yep.
This is why opinions are different. We get compared to Liege Lord a lot, and I love Liege Lord.
And this feels very power metal.
Category myself, so Medieval Steel. Medieval Steel is a tough one. To me, they're a line straddler, but
and that's kind of and that's kind of where this is going to. There is there's some different flavors of power metal, and there's also a line somewhere between what I guess you would call traditional metal, and power metal.
There's the question, Alan. Where's the line?
This is power metal.
See,
a lot of people would call that traditional metal.
Fucking love Omen. Would never put it in power metal category.
Rest in peace, JD Kimball, you amazing vocalist. Oh my God. What an amazing fucking vocalist.
Omen's one of the best, man.
Yeah, great voice.
This is also, in my opinion, power metal.
See,
that one for me straddles the line real hard.
Well, I guess, when you said U.S. power metal the first time, it hit me very oxymoronically. Like, I was just like, is U.S. power metal even a thing? Like, I don't know if I know any U.S. power metal. Everything that I would cite as power metal is definitely not U.S. So I guess I'm looking at it at a very narrow perspective, and that's why I'm glad we're talking about it tonight.
Yeah. I think I
want to walk away enlightened tonight.
I wouldn't say it's narrow. I think very much is power metal is like a lot of heavy metal genres and terms that we've discussed over different episodes. The term kind of got reinvented at some point.
Yeah.
Black metal was one thing in the 80s, and it was something very different in the 90s. Death metal went through changes. And I think just power metal went through a big change too. And so that, the power metal most people think of now is, this European stuff. And it has those exact qualities you described earlier, Andrew. You nailed it really well. But for a lot of folks, there are power metal bands that have, as Marty was saying earlier, a little bit more of a blue collar vibe. They may still do some of the fantasy lyrics and stuff, but
see, to me,
maybe don't have quite the same. They don't have the same sort of necessarily over the top presentation of all the fantasy elements that you get from the European bands. It's a little more toned down, it's closer to traditional metal because that's kind of where it grew out of. Those bands grew out of Maiden and Priest, and then eventually with the first or not the first Halloween, Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 1, you really start to see those bands move into a more distinct style and a little further away from traditional metal.
And again, so maybe it's a generational thing too, because the first power metal I was introduced to was Keeper of the Seven Keys. So, or Part 1.
That's the blueprint for. They're as far as I'm concerned, the forefathers of European power metal. It's those two albums, the Keepers albums.
I guess that's why I am of the opinion that I am, is because that's the springboard I based all of my opinions on power metal off of. So I guess it makes sense. Yep. And to me, you cited like the blue collar thing. Well, I've always felt that like every US band, regardless of what genre they're playing, every US band has more of like a blue collar take on whatever genre it is. Like I could tangibly sense the blue collars.
Right. It's another good example, Frank. And people are getting that Thundersteel album is almost more thrash than it is power metal. Or speed metal or something. And that
it's speedy. It's speedy.
It's fast. I wouldn't call it thrashy. I don't think it's got
so Savage Grace. Savage Grace super speedy.
Just very speedy.
Halloween. I mean, there's all those bands that's why it's such a vague term. And then I think power. What even is power? Every form of metal is powerful. What's so power about power metal? Why do they even call it power metal?
I would even lump in the first couple Overkill albums as power metal too.
I thought about that too when I was going through my collection. I thought about Armored Saint. These are bands that I thought of. Like I said, my girl was like going through the list and she was like, Metal Church. And I'm like, no way. Metal Church isn't power metal.
Well, they often got lumped in with thrash, and this is not a thrash album. I mean, you got Merciless Onslaught, which is a speedy, thrashy instrumental.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of it's just power. I mean, the David Wayne's vocals are pure power.
Yeah.
It's just there's no thrashy shit going on here. It's just a well executed, pulsing forward, fist to the teeth power metal record.
Well, like somebody commented earlier, I always considered Metal Church just metal, just traditional metal. Omen, like the previous comment was, I just throw them in traditional metal. Now, what was on that list too, and what you just mentioned as well, one of my favorite bands ever, Sabotage. I would never put them in the power metal category myself, but I would always just consider them heavy fucking metal. That I don't know, Like I said, I think my scope is just a lot more.
No, it's not. And we've talked.
Thing. I mean, it's just like it's my opinion. It is what it is.
And we've talked about this before. The fact that people are, what about thrash and speed? I mean, it's where people land on this stuff and their perception of it.
Right.
Is Agent Steel speed metal or is it thrash metal? The first album to me is a speed metal record.
There you go.
And you can discuss it in like, is Omen power metal or is it traditional metal? It's kind of both. It's both. Is this traditional metal or power metal? It's kind of both. I mean, those two, when you get into the American bands, a European power metal band is going to sound like they wish they were Halloween.
Yeah.
This is kind of the way it goes.
Yeah.
The US power metal's a lot of gray area in it. There's just a ton of gray area in it. And you know, Grim Reaper, maybe a little more trad metal, but there was moments of power, you know, Rock You to Hell.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. It's a discussion. What do you think, Alan? I'm talking too much again. Sorry.
No, it's good. But yeah, that's, we're quickly, getting to that point. Yeah, it's, where do you put that line? Some people really don't like the term traditional metal. They feel like, well, what the heck does that mean? So you run into the same problem. But yeah.
Well, whenever you put any band in a box and there's people that like that band, there's always going to be someone that stands up and is like, no, dude.
Yep.
No.
Yep. That is definitely.
I'm one of those people, I'll totally do that. But I just I don't know. I just always felt a certain way about power metal, and not in necessarily a good way. And like I said, whenever Ironflame got tagged power metal, I'm like, no. So I was overjoyed when the reviews started coming in with for the new album, because I don't think it was uttered once. Everybody started out describing, because you write a review under the assumption that someone's reading it that has never heard the band before. So you want to have a kind of generic introduction, right, to the band. It would always start out with, Ironflame is a traditional heavy metal band. I'm like, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for not calling us power metal.
But the only reason why you're pissed off about that is because you think, like some people do, that power metal is a disparaging term. It's not good.
Right.
And like if I heard power metal, I mean, I would probably very easily say power metal too. It's easy to lump bands into genres that everyone's familiar with.
You know why? Because
it's not a bad thing to me. Power metal is a good thing. What's that?
Cheese. People think cheese a lot when they think power metal. That's the first thing they think is it's cheesy, and they're not wrong in a lot of respects.
They're not.
There's a lot of bands that fall in that category that are cheesy.
You're right, Andrew. But there's a lot of cheesy bands in a lot of styles of metal.
It's true.
You look at a lot of black metal bands, and it's two teenage kids, with a lot of makeup trying to take black and white photos of themselves in a closet. You look at a lot of death metal bands, and it's guys in jam shorts, with big sneakers, screaming about horror movie lyrics while sweating a bucket in Florida.
Right. And when I think cheese, I think disingenuine and trying too hard.
Well, you've already summed up black metal. You've summed up. I mean, every genre's got it, man.
Every doom metal band who's wearing cloaks and trying to look all dour and posing next to funeral urns like they live in a mausoleum. Yep.
And you're right. You're both right about that. And even though I had my phase in my youth or whatever, playing black metal, and I'm not gonna lie and say I didn't wear corpse paint, when I was 19 years old, because I did. But in my adulthood, you could cite anything that I was in back in the day or now, and I've always just felt like looks and images are dumb. And the minute that I see somebody trying to portray some sort of visual image with something, I know you're not really that person. So I'm less into you. Like I've always, whenever I'm in a band with somebody and I have anything to say about it, I'm just like, be yourself and dress how you would. Like how I dress on stage is how I would dress any normal day at work or at my house or anything else, because I want to be real, and I just respect people that are real. And like, I don't know, whenever I see stuff like that, it just translates as cheesy to me.
I mean, even this is going maybe way too deep, but I mean, you're an owner of a tattoo shop. You're a guy that's got a couple tattoos. There was a time where that image wasn't. Now it's very commonplace.
Right.
Times have changed, but back in the day, a person that was tatted up typically was not a guy to fuck with. Or a woman to fuck with,
big stigma, and it was an intimidation factor, and that person has probably done time, or he sells drugs for a living, or definitely killed someone somewhere down the line. Right. But those stigmas are very much, I think, in the rear view now, thankfully, along with so many other, needless generalizations and stereotypes. But
yeah, I think you're right. That the cheesy thing is something I hear people cite a lot about power metal.
Yeah.
It just surprises me because those same people will be into they're like, well, what do you listen to? Cult grim black metal. It's like, what? There's a cheese factor with all of these. It's just that what one person finds cheesy, someone else thinks is really cool or really draws them in. So let's see. Michael had a comment a minute ago that is kind of another thing to explore. Power metal. Some people also complain that it's very. I think you used the word triumphant earlier, Andrew, but it does have this kind of happy sound to it. It's more uplifting. It's more positive.
A better way to say it. It's up. Yeah.
And people will complain about that. What do we think about that? Is that something to be upset about? Does heavy metal have to be serious and dark and grim and sad and broody and angry? Is happy out of bounds for heavy metal?
It doesn't, but I feel that power metal has to be up for it to be power metal.
Agreed.
If that makes sense.
I would. The American stuff isn't necessarily up and happy all the time.
Yeah.
but
see, I'm just being enlightened to this whole world of U.S. power metal. See, I mean, these are bands that I've loved for years, and I would never put them in that category. So now I'm looking at them in a different light, not in a bad way, just in a different way. So
I've said this before, and having some years behind me at this point, there was a point in time where I always liked traditional metal, and I grew up on Kiss, and Kiss is about as cheesy inside and out as you can fucking get.
About that. Yeah.
But then I hit that the thrash world, and then I'm like, oh, all the Kiss posters, all those classics came off the wall and went in the garbage,
right?
Which I kick myself for now, but
yeah, of course.
And now, but you go on this route, and I just got to a point where this cheesy stuff. I can only listen to black metal, evil stuff. But the older I've gotten, the pandemic was a prime example, going full circle back to where we started with this. That is where I found the Andy Darris era of Halloween. I was always turned off to the Darris era. I heard him sing early on, "This isn't Kiska. I'm not interested, blah, blah, blah." I've talked about this a million times. Sorry, everybody. But, I listened to it a different light. I was in a dark place, like a lot of us were during the whole pandemic thing, and it made me feel better. The songs, that uplifting, those happy harmonies, maybe not so serious lyrics, just good heavy metal, power metal with a great singer, some fantastic fucking guitar work, and some amazingly written songs. I mean. It changed my perspective on things. It made me excited to listen to music again. I was burnt out on the dork in the woods with corpse paint shit, and I was sick of people bitching and moaning and angry and pissed off and evil and posturing. And all of a sudden, the power metal stuff started to take on a new feeling for me. And it all boils down to the listener. You have to ask yourself, how much cheese am I okay with? It's a simple question. How much, and once you find the one band that really makes you say, "Holy shit, this is amazing."
Yeah,
that's the crack in the door you need to start saying, "Okay, this is okay. That's okay. Okay."
Yeah.
Oh, now you're buying shit with dragons and guys wearing fucking wizard masks and stuff,
right.
and you're completely fine with it. Like it's don't even blink.
Yeah. I see your point, man. I totally see your point. It's all about perspective, I guess. And I don't know. Yeah, I'm starting to realize I don't know why. Well, I guess I do know why I carried around that, stigma myself for such a long time. But
because you're a hard metal warrior,
right?
You don't want to be cheesy or happy.
Well, and that's it. And I did always dwell more on the more extreme side of things for most of my metal listening life. I spent most of my years dedicated to death metal, black metal, and grindcore. Being raised on traditional stuff. So yeah, it's a different recipe for me. And you talk to different people, when I'm either in the U.S. or in Europe, and it's rare for me to bring up a band like Disembowelment and someone be like, "Oh fuck yeah, Transcendence into the Peripheral, fuck yeah."
Yep.
Funeral at Ornans, that's my favorite song on that album. You're not going to hear that at a traditional, heavy metal show in Europe or US most of the time. I'll say it, but
Me too.
I'm in the minority, But then other people, those same people, will cite a bunch of traditional stuff, a bunch of power metal stuff that I'll be like, "Yeah, man, I heard that name before, but I've got no idea what you're talking about." So I'm a little bit of a different beast when it comes to, that, I guess, that realm, just because of my upbringing too, But I'm rediscovering and reappreciating old bands that I overlooked in my youth. Every day I'll come across something like, man, I remember seeing that in the catalog and it looked too dumb to me at the time. I would have never bought, and I didn't buy it. And now I listen to it. I'm like, this is fucking incredible. I can't believe.
What was I thinking? That's something I've heard myself say more than 50 times here in the last 5 years. What was I thinking? Yeah. Judas Priest was what the hell was I thinking?
Yeah.
It wasn't that I disliked Priest. I was a Maiden guy. And I'm from that era where I was Maiden. I couldn't do Priest. And Priest always had the more radio friendly shit. But
I don't know why there always had to be like, you had to choose one or the other.
I know. Why?
Were you always forced to choose one or the other?
You're a Manchester United fan. You can't cheer for other teams.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Alan, were you ever forced to choose between those two bands?
I wasn't. No, that was I saw that other people, definitely had that, but that was not a thing.
It was a regional thing
early on.
Well, no, because
it may have been. It was more folks like in the Midwest that was a very strong, like you liked one or the other.
I was the Maiden guy, and my best friend growing up, he was the Priest guy. But we enlightened each other, I think, on those bands respectively, because I didn't know. Judas Priest. I was like, Iron Maiden. He's like, no, Judas Priest. And he let me hear Judas Priest. I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, Judas Priest. And I did that with Iron Maiden. So I don't know. To me, I had an equal appreciation for both. I've never really, number one, felt the need to choose between them. And I never really saw the parallels between them either. Like, they're two completely different bands to me. And I love them both equally for different reasons.
And when I finally did buy my first Judas Priest album, it was on cassette. It was Turbo.
Okay.
So there it is. I mean, there it is.
Yeah.
That is Judas Priest somewhere in time, but they just didn't do as well with the guitar synth than Maiden did.
Yes. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think of what my first Priest album was. I think it was probably Ram It Down.
Which is the one it's like the Turbo leftovers.
Right. But I mean, Blood Red Skies, come on, that's one of the most metal songs ever.
Yeah. The title track is a crusher.
Yeah, that too. And then, right after Painkiller, I think Painkiller is in the top 3 best metal albums ever recorded ever.
Oh, great. Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing.
So, I mean that's a Bible, a heavy metal Bible of an album, but and so let's circle back a little bit. You wouldn't call Iron Maiden power metal, would you?
No, I would not. They've always been just like you said, a metal band. Period.
Right.
If you need an adjective, it's traditional.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, and I would say the same with Priest, even though Priest has gone through more changes than Iron Maiden ever has.
Priest has albums that lean in different directions, but I agree with you. Overall, Priest, Maiden, and Accept are kind of that triumvirate of late 70s, early 80s. This is heavy metal, period.
So, listeners and watchers chime into it and help us here, enlighten me. My next question, who started power metal? What was the first power metal album then?
Marty, you want to take a stab?
That the tree grew from?
Oh, European power metal, it's Keeper Part 1.
Yeah? Okay.
That's my opinion. American power metal?
I'm checking the date on one. And I've got a knee-jerk reaction, but I want to check the date. Because it may be a little later.
Let me grab a beer real quick while you're looking that up.
Yeah. Okay, let me compare that to one other.
You're gonna have to answer this one, Alan. I'm a little. I was big into the metal blade version of power metal, so you had a lot more diameter that you reached out in. I mean, you got Queensryche, that was early too, but there was earlier.
I'm checking. Yeah, I'm kind of lining up
Manowar?
a couple of things that there's a few things in '83 that could vie for it. There's Manowar, there's the Queensryche EP, there's also the Warlord Deliverus EP. That one had a big influence on a lot of bands.
So good.
Down the line.
What year was that?
83. But there may be one we can cite a year earlier.
No, Chromie, not Meatloaf. I'll fight you on that one.
Meatloaf does, have a lot of the theatrics that power metal
the
bands
album art
did.
too.
Yeah, it's got the look, and it's got that sort of big, like you said earlier, Andrew, the big symphonic element that a lot of European bands gravitated
very
towards.
theatrical, very storytelling.
Yep. It does have some of those traits.
Yeah.
You could go with another one from '83 is Virgin Steel's Guardians of the Flame. Virgin Steel 1 is a year earlier in '82, but that album, I don't know as it shows a ton of power metal traits. It's an odd album. It's got, it's kind of a mashup of just rock, some metal worked in, some other stuff. But yeah, you have several things that are around '83 in the US that could, at the time, I don't know if anybody referred to those as power metal, but they did feel distinct from a lot of the other stuff that started coming out in '83. You've got Kill 'Em All, you've got Show No Mercy, and then you've got Deliver Us. That is definitely a different type of beast within the metal spectrum somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, and who even knows who penned the term power metal in and of itself? I mean, for fuck's sakes, that was a Pantera album.
Yeah.
Yep.
And clearly that was not power metal.
Man, there's a couple of people in here saying Rainbow Rising.
More than one person, and that me and my girl were talking about it last night too. Like, was Rainbow power metal?
I never thought about that. I never thought, and that is like one of the best albums ever.
I know.
And I listen now, it's very flamboyant. There's very long, solo passages. You got the really killer artwork.
It's
you got triumphant. You got an amazing fucking singer.
It has traits that those bands would certainly gravitate onto. Those bands are Rainbow fans. Another one, I mean, if you're trying to dig way back, to just individual songs and such, you could dig up a couple of Deep Purple songs like Highway Star that had it's on the Metal Church
covered on this album.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of bands covered that song. They hear it as a very early take on. I've heard musicians refer to it as like the first speed metal song.
Well, I was going to say they clearly influenced so many people. So many metal bands after them. It's plain to see. The Machine Head album in general. So many people say if it wasn't for the Machine Head album, I wouldn't be in a metal band now. It's just hard to say where it actually started from, though, right?
It's a group effort.
Yeah, to me, like I said, when I think of it, hands down. Are we going to get into some albums? Can I pull out some albums here?
Sure,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. When
I was just looking at Alan's list he made up real quick. I'm just trying to see if I think we covered a lot of it. Brief history. We're talking about that. The appeal of power metal.
Yeah, we kind of talked about that too. Again,
we didn't touch on that. Let's before you show that record, which is a classic. What is the appeal of power metal from a guy that maybe curls his nose up at being called power metal? What would be the appeal? I mean, is the triumphant thing, you kind of use it disparagingly, happy disparagingly. I mean, what would be, I as a musician, I think I know the answer, but go ahead.
It's got its appeals, and so I'll just look at this album and think why I absolutely adore and worship this album, and it is because of the elements that make it what it is. It is the triumphant nature, I think, probably at its core. That's the main thing. The uplifting nature of it, and the way my soul resonates with that. And the kind of classical esque, harkening back to the song structuring and the chord progressions. The speed definitely doesn't hurt. I think if at least this album in particular wasn't as fast.
Well, go ahead and show it again because we're talking about it. You might as well show it again.
Oh yeah. To me, this was, like I said, this is my first. Sorry, it's all there we go. My first foray into power metal, and the first time I ever heard anything referred to as power metal. So, to me, from a layman's standpoint that didn't know what that even meant, I was like, this is Iron Maiden on PCP. This is just amped up, coked up Iron Maiden elements, just cranked to 11. The harmonies
with an 18-year-old singer.
Yeah, the harmonies, the incredibly high register voice, and that it was played at double time faster than any given Iron Maiden song. But where it differentiated between those two, it really would be, again, the triumphant nature, the quasi-classical feel to it. And, well, I mean, the thing it shares, I guess, with Iron Maiden is the storytelling thing,
Yeah.
But,
sorry, Alan.
When just in general, the song "Twilight of the Gods,"
that's such a great fucking song.
That's power metal it encompassed in one song.
Yep,
it's got all the elements, and it's an undeniable power metal song.
Yep, and for a person that I have talked with, my a friend of my band, he's big against the cheese in this stuff, but being a musician, you can't come away from listening to power metal and not applaud the musicianship.
It has to be above average, right?
It has to be way above average. If you're in a power metal band that wants to hang, you better have shredders. You better have a young drummer that does a lot of coke and can keep time.
Yep.
And a great fucking singer. So not only do you have to have, a gifted singer that's got a lot of pipes, there's got a lot of work has gone into being in this band. And, even if you don't like it and you can't stand the cheese aspect of it, you can't be a metalhead and listen to, name a power metal album and not come away from it and not applaud the musicianship and
it's
the talent.
It's kind of like the polar opposite of what you would call stoner, anything stoner, right?
Yeah.
And Marty, I wonder sometimes if those elements you just described, if there's sometimes a little bit of, this sort of the knee-jerk pushback against that. It's like, those guys, with all the amazing solos and soaring vocals, they're trying too hard. Middle, it's not real. Kind of what Andrew was saying earlier. It's not real enough if you're practicing 15 hours. I want my heavy metal to be street level. It should be more dirty sounding and stuff.
Yeah, unrefined.
Yeah, that's anybody who takes vocal lessons for 10 years could sound good. Or again, a pushback that a lot of bands aren't going to sound that good, and a lot of musicians aren't at that level, and that there's sort of this, there's a little bit of a snarkiness of like, I don't play power metal because that, that's for posers, and it's really more of a, I can't play that good if I wanted to.
Right.
I don't know. I can't prove that. I just wonder if that becomes part of the equation for some people.
So let's back it up a little bit then.
Speed metal record.
Okay, I was going to say, do you put that in the same category?
No, I don't.
Jericho?
I mean, there's elements. I mean, Ride the Sky is one of the best songs ever written.
Truth.
It just is.
I mean, heavy metal was the law. Wow.
Yeah.
Heavy metal was the law.
Yeah.
Metal Invaders. Gorgar. Yep. But I don't know either. I don't know if I'd put it in that box.
The funny thing is, and another thing that separates power metal, I mean, I'm a death metal musician, okay? My job is to fill in all the spaces with riffs and notes. Yeah. And you listen to power metal, it's coming from a completely different mental space. It's coming from more traditional songwriting, pop structures, rock structures, where you listen to the main riffs of a song. They're not riffs, they're chord progressions. It's a chord progression with a singer presenting a harmony or a melody over the top, and then when it's time for the solos, that's where, you know, things get crazy and they fill in the holes.
Yeah.
But a lot of power metal is built on a solid driving drum beat with chord progressions, simple chord progressions, maybe not so simple. Maybe there's some riffs thrown in. I mean, it's a loose fitting theory I'm throwing at people here, but I listen to a lot of songs that I like, and I try to deconstruct the song just to try to learn something different than filling. I mean, my job is to do this, fill up fucking spaces and tremolo picking. And wow, I said, there's actually space. There's some space here for all the elements to come together and create something bigger, more expansive, more atmospheric, more triumphant, however you want to present it. It all boils down to a solid chord progression. And I think I hear some of that in Ironflame too. Yeah, there's riffs. I mean, you come from an old school vibe too. You've got some riffy shit too, but you also focus on, you're a great singer, so you can carry a melody. You don't need the guitars to do that necessarily. The guitar is there for a foundation for you to build on top of it. Yeah. And that is another thing that would bring an easy classification to say, well, power metal for someone that just wants to get in and out quick and not have to really think about it. Power metal.
Yeah.
You know,
but it's a misnomer to me.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I'm rambling again. Sorry, everybody.
No, you're presenting a very good point. I agree with you.
It's a topic that I like. I like this topic.
As I said, I feel, you know, very strongly about these things, but I don't, you know, I want to walk away enlightened, you know. That's what discussion's all about.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, at the end of the day, you know, just to be clear, if folks just don't like power metal, that's of course absolutely fine. People are going to like different genres and stuff. Yeah, it's just interesting to me sometimes some of the comments I hear about power metal and don't always make sense. You know, we've talked about a couple, you know, some others that come up. Sometimes people complain that it's too much, you know, guitar showmanship, you know, that they're always showing off. But you get a lot of that in all style, you know, other styles metal. I mean, how many death metal bands are super techy with their guitar work?
Emperor. Look at Emperor.
You know, some people complain about, you know, Andrew, you mentioned it earlier, you know, the fantasy lyrics, you know, that it's all a bunch of, you know, Tolkien nerds out, you know, just LARPing on stage.
Right. Exactly.
Well, but look at, you know, a band like Summoning and black metal. You've got all these death bands and, you know, black metal bands that go for, that are very much into those same fantasy tropes.
Yep.
So if you don't like fantasy in your heavy metal, that's okay. But yeah, you can't say that, you know, Summoning is cool because they do Tolkien, and, you know, some power metal band from Europe is not cool because they do Tolkien. That can't be your reason for disqualifying the genre if you like it in other genres. And, you know, some of this stuff, it shows up in other genres of music. It's not, you know, just power metal. Trying to think of like one other example. Kellen actually had a good point in the comments earlier about going back to the happy sound. You hear that in a lot of other styles of music. It's not just power metal, but sometimes you have to go outside of heavy metal. But some folks like a lot of, you know, different synth pop, EBM, you know, music. A lot of that has, you know, that same kind of, you know, happy, you know, improving your mood kind of, you know, beat and vibe to it.
Yeah.
So you get that kind of thing in other genres and sometimes, you know, we were talking about Depeche Mode a few nights ago on here, and, you know, a lot of folks are like, yeah, Depeche Mode's a cool band. They have a dark vibe, but their music's very poppy, very bouncy.
It's pop, man. Pop and industrial kind of some mixing going on there.
So, I mean, you know, my point being, if you're saying you don't like power metal because it's too happy, but at the same time you're listening to other styles of music that are happy, that's again where I get kind of confused. Right. At the end of the day, if folks just don't dig it, that's fine. I don't like it when someone says, I don't like that, and then their reasoning doesn't really add up to anything.
Well, and you know, I think it harkens back to, I think of so much of it is the band that you associate with that tag being power metal.
Can be
how you feel about that particular band or whatever. So you make all these generalizations, you know, like Snaggletooth said, like, how could you say you don't like power metal, but you like Iron Maiden and you like Judas Priest because they share so many similar things. You know, it's
and you know, of all the different styles of heavy, you know, Maiden and Priest, you know, two bands that near universally loved. And out of all the different styles of heavy metal, power metal is the closest to their sound. You know? It's much closer to what they do than death or black or doom or anything else. So yeah, it is funny when you hear people say, Hail Maiden, boo power metal. But I think you're right, Andrew. There's so many people that they get stuck on the idea that this is power metal, and God damn it, dolphins are not fucking metal, so power metal must suck. And I agree, dolphins are not heavy metal. Fuck dolphins.
Fuck dolphins.
They're kind of anti-metal. They really are.
They are everything that's not heavy metal right there.
Yeah, I've never seen a dolphin at one metal show in my entire life.
Years ago, I've done the dolphin rant before. Years ago, a buddy Graham over in the UK did a avatar for me that I used for years on websites because he tried to make the most heavy metal looking dolphin he could. It had big pointy teeth and claws and lasers come out of its eyes. And then he put a fucking rainbow behind its head. I used that damn dolphin avatar for years and years on different sites because it was the closest thing we could get up to with a metal dolphin.
I love it.
And going to your comment, Alan, people saying that there's too many notes and shit in power metal. Snaggletooth he's like tech death. I mean, if you say you don't like power metal because of all the notes and noodling, but you own Archspire or
you own
Gorguts albums. I mean,
Emperor albums,
album, all that shit. It's again, it boils down to how much Velveeta are you okay with eating?
Yeah.
Or what flavor of cheese. Yeah. I mean, to some people, again, corpse paint to some people is corny and to some people it's cult.
Yeah.
The whole death metal vibe, to some folks it's brutal and to others it's boring.
Yeah. Yep. You're right. I would agree.
Yep. Fuck dolphins. Dolphins will fuck you.
Hey, if dolphins had a chance, they'd kill us and everybody we ever loved. So you make sure you keep those fuckers in the sea where they belong. If they ever get on land, we're fucked.
No, I don't trust those fuckers as far as I can.
Like dolphins are delicious. I'm sure to dolphins we're delicious. So, okay, Andrew's already shown a couple albums. Alan, why don't we start showing some stuff? Unless there's something else you want to go at here.
We've had a good discussion, and thanks to everybody in the chat. Folks have been putting out lots of good comments and observations.
Absolutely.
But yes, we probably need to rein this in a little bit and show some stuff.
And there is no answers here in this discussion. It's just a discussion. We're not converting anyone here to anything other than offering maybe a new perspective. That's about it.
Yeah, all I would say, wrapping that up, is if you're somebody who traditionally feels like, oh, I don't like power metal, just think about why you don't like it, and is it consistent with the other styles of music you do and don't like. If it's hey, that's absolutely cool. But yeah, if you're like, wait, I complain about it because there's too much guitar wanking, but I love that stuff in other styles, maybe there's some power metal out there that you want to give a second chance. Anyway, I'll start with the pretty obvious one. This album, it's not cult or anything like that, but it had a huge impact on power metal. First Hammerfall, Glory to the Brave. Now, this is a band, and this is an album that a lot of people do kind of roll their eyes at. And
I hated that when it came out. I threw it in the garbage. I threw the promo in the garbage.
Nardy?
And then I recently, the last year, rebought it. I rebought it, and I'm like, what was I thinking? Again, what was I thinking?
when I heard this, it blew me away. I was just like, now there's an album I can get behind.
Let me just show you what was next on my list.
Okay. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I knew this would get produced. I mean, because it's pretty biblical as far as the dictionary goes of power metal. And, have you ever seen them live, Alan?
No, I have not. Have not seen Hammerfall.
I saw him with Death. Okay, on the Sound of Perseverance tour.
Yeah,
and there were a bunch of kids there because I think there was another young band playing, and I can't remember who else was there. But anyway, all these kids, when they first started playing, there was a bunch of kids, and they were just like, they were having none of it. But at the end of the set, the very last song they did, every musician in Hammerfall on stage switched instruments and covered Breaking the Law and fucking killed it.
Nice.
It was insane. It was one of the coolest things I've ever seen a live band do, and it impressed the living fuck out of me.
Yeah, Melissa's right. I remember Domingo. We actually did see Hammerfall. It was like they were like the last band at Prog Power. But yeah, we did catch part of their set. She's right. So yes, I did see them. I blanked on that. So thanks, Mel, for reminding me on that. But yeah, this album did a ton for power metal in terms of putting it back on the map in the United States. The European. It's funny because the Keepers albums went over well in the U.S.
They did,
but then Halloween got stuck in the purgatory of the legal system for years.
Yep.
And by the time they came out, they weren't the same band. And heavy metal in America had changed a lot. And none of the other European bands really ever got a foothold in America. Running Wild never got established over here very well. Gravedigger didn't. And so, yeah, it kind of became power metal. That's where power metal really started becoming a European thing. Americans were too busy listening to Pantera and Biohazard and that kind of stuff. But this stuff was already popular in Europe and stayed popular in Europe. In the mid-90s, you couldn't get any attention as a power metal band in the US. It was very, very difficult to get any kind of support. Yep. Very famously, I remember King Fowley telling me about trying to get his October 31st project signed to Relapse or Nuclear Blast, and the labels just telling us King, we like you, we can't sell this stuff. In 1995, 96, we can't sell this in the US. Sorry, not interested.
It was a dark time for that.
Yeah, it really was. And then this album came out on Nuclear Blast and got a big push, and it literally just opened the floodgate. Yep. Within another year, all of a sudden, everybody in the U.S. was clamoring to release Blind Guardian, and this album kind of came out around the same time. This album also helped pry that door back open. Rhapsody's first Legendary Tales. These two together are why you now have 1,000 power metal bands, all over the place that have a chance in the US to gain a footing. Yeah. So yeah, like them or not, if you're in power metal, you owe a debt to this band. And again, they did a good job. I've mentioned it before. They did pay homage to their influences. This is a band
Warlord cover on there.
They cover Warlord. They covered Storm Witch. They covered Pretty Maids. They do a killer Pretty Maids cover back to back early on. I think it's on an EP instead of the album. But so not only did they get new bands a chance to get looked at, they also got people going back and like, hey, this Ravenlord track kicks ass. Wait, it's not by Hammerfall. Who the fuck are Storm Witch? I should go look that up. And people did. So yeah, Hammerfall. I did not keep up with Hammerfall's career a ton over the years. I got a little bored with them by albums 2 and 3, but I like the first one. And regardless of your opinion of the band, they are the reason power metal got popular in the United States again. They had a huge, huge impact.
And they're still chugging away.
They're still at it. Yep. Still going.
On tour with Halloween.
Yep.
Yep. All right, Marty, your turn to...
better than ever. Halloween, the new Halloween album.
My God, is it fucking amazing. But that's coming. That's coming. Okay.
All right, Marty, show us something cool.
Well, I couldn't choose between the two. Well, I can choose between the two. But this is the best power metal album ever made. Just saying. Awakening the World, Lost Horizon. Andrew, if you've not heard this album,
I've not.
Jot it down.
Okay.
We got one of the best singers in heavy metal. And the main guitar player was in you remember the death metal band called Luciferion from Sweden?
Yep, sure do.
Well, he's the guy writing all the music on here, and he's a shredder. And you can hear a little Luciferion on some of the riffs even, which is weird. But this is fucking the best power metal. They're from Sweden. You got guys in capes, keeping the rats at bay and body paint. And, you want cheese, you look at this, but it's the song on here, Welcome Back. One of the best heavy metal songs, power metal songs ever.
Now, is that their debut album?
This is their debut album, and they have a second album, A Flame to the Ground Beneath. They added a keyboard player. So this one is a lot more keyboard dominant, and the songs are a lot more complex, but it's still an ass ripping album. And God, the singer is just so amazing. Just a great high pitch, but he can bring it soulful. I mean, Alan, you want to get in on this too? I don't want to dominate this because I look at these albums and I get excited to listen to them. I'm not going to lie. Both of them.
Great band. Not the best power metal album ever made, though.
You are wrong. You're wrong.
No, you are wrong. I am rubber, you are glue. Whatever you says bounces off of me and sticks to you.
But Andrew, check this one out. Awakening the World by Lost Horizon. You can spin it on Spotify. It is killer. Absolute superior songwriting. The solo work is amazing. The riffs are interesting. There's not just chord progressions. I mean, there's a lot going on in the music. Every musician in this band is top notch. And those vocals, the guy has got a golden voice, and they're both exceptional albums. The first one I think is a little bit more my favorite. So Lost Horizon. Yeah, I know. Exactly. And it's very positive. There's a lot of positive lyrical shit going on in here. You above everyone else type of stuff. And it's cool. It's cool. It's a good, I remember when this stuff first came out, my friends Jeff and Zoller were very into it, and we're going somewhere to a metal fest, and Zoller's playing it for me. I'm like, man, these guys are positive. I'm like, I don't know if I can get into this shit, but it took a few listens, and when it clicked, it's like, holy shit, this is amazing, amazing power metal, amazing. But yeah, I could gush, and I kind of want to go listen to it, but I'm gonna wait till the end of this show.
That's when you know it's good.
Yeah, oh, so good. You're back, Andrew. What have you got? What's next on your list?
Okay, man, I wish I had. I have this, and this isn't the right representation. But this is
right band, wrong representation. Not a bad. It's not a bad album, though.
It's not, but it's not a power metal album. But the first one, Heading for Tomorrow, very much is. I think
it's very confused, but it is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weird shit on that album.
Yeah, but I mean, there are definitely some power metal songs on that album.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and it makes sense, why it is what it is, springing off of, Halloween. But to me, that was like the obvious, second answer. After Halloween dissolved, or what they didn't dissolve.
No, Kai left.
Yeah, Kai just left. But Kai was just such a driving force in the songwriting that this I revisited this last night, and I'm like, no way, this is like kind of sleazy. Like this album here, it's got some sleaze on it.
Right.
It's very kind of like American in the musical standpoint. But that first Gamma Ray, I think, is definitely, I would put it in the power metal category myself. And
have you heard this one?
What? No.
Oh. Okay.
I mean, are you laughing in a good way or in a bad
way? Oh, I'm laughing in a very good way. This is an amazing album. Amazing. Oh, okay. Land of the Free. This is the first album where Kai starts singing again. Back in Gamma Ray. And if you want to, what do we call it, Alan? Keeper, the perfect successor to the Keeper. This is Keeper 3. Keeper's part 3.
Okay.
With a little bit of a speed metal thing in there. I mean, and Kai sounds amazing. This was in my pick as well. Land of the Free, but Alan might be showing this, so I'm gonna just shut up about it and let him talk about it.
All right, yeah, go ahead.
But this is a way, when Kai started singing in Gamma Ray again, they got really, really good for a long time.
No, indeed. Check it out.
All right, Alan.
Let's see. We're talking German power metal. I got things separated in stacks. We've touched on a couple of the bigger ones: Halloween, Gamma Ray. One of the other big ones that kind of became the successor to Halloween once Halloween got off the rails for a while was this band. Blind Guardian, started out, they felt a lot like kind of a Halloween clone, but they really came into their own throughout the 90s and put out a fantastic run of albums from the late 80s up to 2000. Their output after 2000 has been a little more hit or miss, but this band embodies all those elements of European power metal in the best possible way. They're fantastic storytellers. They when they're doing speedy stuff like on this album, they play as fast and as tight as anybody ever has in this genre. So Germany obviously has kind of a lion's share of great power metal stuff over the years, and can't talk about it without mentioning Blind Guardian. Not going to go deep. We've talked about this band a ton from time to time, but they're, they have to be up there, on that, top platform of German power metal bands, which puts them among the best to ever play the style.
Yeah, I would totally agree. To me, they took the dying embers of what Halloween was doing and just breathed new life into it. And to me, like, Hansi has got one of the best voices in heavy metal, like, period.
Very unique style, very unique.
Yeah. And just like every time I hear him utter a syllable, I'm just like, I melt. I just think he's got the most incredible voice. And you're right. Like, everything about Blind Guardian, at least those first maybe 3 albums, has every vital ingredient of what we were talking about that power metal is. They carried the torch, I think, longer than anybody else. And
I've mentioned it. You're right, Andrew. I've mentioned it before, so apologies to longtime viewers who have heard this. But I often think, there's usually like one power metal band per decade that really is kind of the flag bearer for the genre. And in the 1990s, Blind Guardian is the power metal band. Not Stratovarius, not Rhapsody, not Hammerfall. Blind Guardian, that from start to finish in that decade, they are the power metal band of the 1990s.
No fucking dolphins on their covers.
Damn right.
Right now, you're never going to see a dolphin on a Blind Guardian.
What do you see here? Not a dolphin. That's what you see.
Unless it's being cooked over that fucking fire.
Yeah,
that's an orc. Real men eat orc.
Put that dolphin on the spit.
Dolphins, what you eat when you can't get enough tofu at the store. If they're out of your veggie soy burger, then you go for the dolphin. Actually, you probably go for it. That makes no sense at all. That's the most offensive thing you could go for.
Excuse me, sir. Do you have any dolphin?
I'm vegan, and you don't have anything, so my first choice is dolphin.
Yeah, sir. It's over there next to the unicorn section.
That dolphin right over the waterfall and into the rocks below. But yeah, the last thing I'll say here, and again, I've mentioned this before. Today, this is a ubiquitous band. It's one of the first things you think of with power metal. In the early and mid 90s, when these albums were coming out, it was almost impossible to get these in the US.
Yeah, it was tough.
It was very tough. My buddy and I had read about this band. We knew we were going to dig them based on what people were saying. When we went to the record store in the winter/early spring of 96. And we asked him, like, can you order a Blind Guardian album for us? That was the only way to get it. It was a special order import kind of thing. The guy had ordered stuff for us before. He checked. He says, like, there's nothing specific listed here. I'll see what I can come up with. But I can't even guarantee what album I could get. We're like, we don't care. Just get us a Blind Guardian album. It took him over a month.
Wow.
He called up probably like 4 or 5 weeks later, and he's like, I got a Blind Guardian album for you. It's sitting here. We went to the store, Matt bought the CD, didn't even know what he was going to be getting, didn't know which album it was going to be. And bought it, it was like, I'm sure it was probably close to $30. And basically blind bought it, no pun intended. Right. Okay, I've intended it. But yeah, hadn't heard a note by the band, didn't even know what fucking album he was going to get when he walked in the store. And just like, here's my money. Give me, what is this? Somewhere Far Beyond. Cool, Alan, let's go back to my place and listen to it right now. And we did. So that was how hard it was to get power metal in the United States in 1996.
Cool story. And I totally remember those days of, special ordering stuff and just being so limited in the availability of anything that you're searching for. And, once you did order it, it just felt like a fucking eternity before it showed up. And sometimes it didn't show up, even though you paid money and order it. Sometimes it just didn't show. And yeah, it was a different time, man. And, you earned your music back then,
And you paid long dollar, kind of like it is now. If you want to buy a record from overseas, you're paying a lot of money. But I remember buying Satyricon albums, the first 2, like $25 a piece.
Oh, like Dark Medieval Times and stuff. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, but worth every penny. Yeah. And I cling tenaciously and still have all those old imports. I wouldn't give them up for the world. No way.
I have freaked people out with I had a professor yell at me once because I was playing my Blind Guardian too loud in the fossil prep lab.
Yeah.
Were you disturbing the fossils?
I don't think they care. She was, basically a fossil herself, but her office was across the hall. And she's like, "Can you turn that noise down?" Like, "Yes, ma'am. Sorry."
I'm writing that down as an album title, Disturbing the Fossils.
Next album. You're going to get a cut of that now. You're going to get a cut of that, Alan.
Like
there we go. I am Andrew's muse for all of 12 seconds there.
I will give you credit, Alan.
Fossilized dolphin on the cover. All right. Well, I'm going to take this Blind Guardian thread, and I had a hard time picking the Blind Guardian album. I'm like, which one? They're all so great.
Right.
So I went with Tokyo Tales.
Wow.
Just
that's an awesome album.
This is an awesome live album. It's a great performance.
Yeah.
Before Hansi gave up playing bass, he was playing bass and singing still. Yeah. And there's a lot of classic material other than Barbara Ann on the end of it, which is goddamn terrible. But I thought this was a good representation of their earlier albums, and it's absolutely killer. But it got me thinking. What this Blind Guardian is a good connection to the U.S. power metal side a little bit through this album right here, Demons and Wizards, which is Hansi with John Schaefer, everyone's favorite patriot.
Yeah, I know, but hey,
this is a great fucking album.
I do not let him soil my love for that album.
No, this album is amazing, and it's the best of both worlds. It really is. I mean, you can hear some Iced Earth in there. You can hear some Blind Guardian in there. It's kind of hard not to. They're both such strong, songwriting characters. Yeah, Fiddler on the Green. What a great fucking song. I mean, this whole album is very emotive, a lot of passion, and Hansi is just a very emotive singer. He's a great talent. So I'm going to do one third. Go ahead. What are you going to say, Alan?
Oh, I have one complaint about that album. The Demons and Wizards. There's one thing that has always bugged me about it, and it's kind of what you just said. At the end of the day, it really is just Hansi singing over an Iced Earth, guitar riffage that they didn't.
That is though.
It's a good recipe.
It is. I wish they had tried to either blend their sound or do something. It really just sounded like they took these two components, but they didn't mix them at all. They just put one on top of the other. And so I always thought they could have somehow maybe stepped outside the box and done something a little different with it rather than just like, okay, this sounds like John Schaefer playing guitar and Hansi singing. And, but they didn't add it. I wanted it to have that extra dimension, I guess. And it just doesn't.
I mean, what you said is probably exactly the way it went down. I mean, I'm sure John had those songs and was like, I'm going to reach out because I worship Hansi. And the worst he could say is no. And thankfully he said yes. And that's what the result was, I mean, and I'm thankful for it. Like I remember being blown away by Blind Guardian and then blown away again by Demons and Wizards. And I didn't think I could be blown away a second time, by Hansi, but like, it just, to me, it worked so well against that backdrop of John's songwriting.
And that point you made is very true, Alan. But if that's the case, then Hansi was the best singer that Iced Earth ever had. And I like a couple of their singing. Now we've already talked about it. I'm going to show this. Something Wicked's my favorite, Iced Earth. Barlow does a great job. He's got a very macho singing style, very gruff. Always has to put that exclamation point on the end of a fucking verse or line, and a lot of character, great songs, heavy, well recorded. I mean, this is an exceptional Iced Earth record. I like Horror Show a lot too, which has some Steve DiGiorgio on bass, who is a beast in his own field for sure. But that was my 3-pronged attack there. I'm sorry if I took anything away from anybody here, but I figured they were all kind of like the German to US connection as far as power metal goes.
Nope, they're definitely linked.
And Donald's right, back in the day, Man of War, Overkill, they were considered power metal. And like you said earlier, Marty, like those first 2 Overkill albums,
It could be. It could
Yeah,
be.
I
It all
mean-
depends on who you're asking. you
Yeah,
know?
I'm not calling you wrong. I'm really not. Taking over and feel the fire. I mean,
Feel the Fire's a top 10 album for me. I love that album so much.
It looks like a duck and walks like a duck, But
It swims like a dolphin, tastes like a dolphin. It's probably a dolphin.
am I up?
If it tastes like a dolphin, PETA is going to be all over your ass.
All right.
True chicken of the sea.
You guys are awesome. I don't know if anybody's heard this one before.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Actually, Steve, I don't know if I haven't seen him in the chat tonight, but he has a channel. Is it S&T Young, Marty?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was actually showing and playing that album on the video just a few days ago, Andrew.
Great bass player.
Because of fucking rules, that's why.
I've got the one with the angel guy on the front doing this. That's the one Alan turned me on to, and it's killer.
I don't know a lot about this band, admittedly. They're from Brazil, I believe, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. That's the one, Alan. I bought that on your recommendation. It's killer.
Sao Paulo, I believe they're from, correct?
I don't know the city, but yeah, they are.
I think
Brazil.
it's Sao Paulo, Brazil, which is what's Sepultura's stomping grounds, I think, right? But and I believe this one's from. The lighting's not the best in here. I'm pretty sure this is like an '87 release.
That's about right. If not, you're awfully close.
I'm pretty sure. And I mean, to me, this is power metal in a nutshell. It had, I mean, there's no capes or swords or wizards or orcs or anything. These guys are keeping it real as far as like the image goes. But I mean, as far as the songwriting goes, the presentation, it's totally uplifting. It's really fast. It's soaring vocals, very fantastic lyrics. And
thanks, Gutto.
Hmm?
I was telling he said yes from Sao Paulo, same as Angra.
Yes, Angra rules too.
Yep. Some of their stuff rules.
Yeah. And to be honest, Steven, I can't even remember how I acquired this CD or how I got turned on to it. I just fell in love with it as soon as I heard it. And, because it's, I mean, I would definitely put it in the power metal category myself because of the elements involved. Yeah, I don't know. It's uplifting, but I mean, it's got some dark and evil shit going on in it too. Like you said, it doesn't have to be always uplifting, but at the same time, it gives you all the feels that every other power metal band, gives you. So, yeah, that's why I felt I had to mention it.
Yep, that's a great choice. Absolutely.
Sunrise.
Yeah. Andrew, have you heard the second one by Viper?
I've not. No.
Yeah, this
really
was
good.
interesting. Compared to the first one, on this one, they start working in more that kind of the symphonic element that you mentioned before. It's a little less of the straightforward power metal, and definitely has a little bit more of that. Trying to do a little bit of the classical orchestration worked into some of the songs, and it's actually what split the band apart.
Creative differences.
Yeah, the brothers, whose names I'm blanking on, they wanted to stick more to the straightforward stuff. But Andre Matos, the vocalist, he really wanted to go down that kind of symphonic power metal direction. And so he left the band and formed Angra, and the two brothers continued on with Viper and went back to doing more straightforward power metal on the third album called Evolution.
I never knew.
Yep. But yeah, great stuff. Another, while we're in Brazil, got to shout out another Brazilian power metal band, Hibria.
Breaking the Rules is where that shit's at, or whatever.
It's another band I've seen their name a bazillion times and I've never listened. So
I didn't either for a long time. I saw that their album sat in the used racks literally for months and months. I would just flip past it, be like, I don't know what that is.
Right.
And finally one day, and this was like in the MySpace era, I was poking around on MySpace, like, oh, okay, there's that band. That album's been at the record store forever. What does it sound like? And I listened to like 2 tracks, and I literally drove back to the record store. I'm like, oh, please still be there. Please still be there. Please still be there. Because, they do a good job. Very powerful, forceful. But yeah, they've got that uplifting vibe. They've got the storytelling vibe. They've got the musicianship. Yeah, this one's their third album.
I was gonna say, if I had to guess from the album cover, that to me looks like about a 99 to 2001 thing.
I think it's slightly later than that, but not by much. I think
Okay.
I want to say it's maybe 2000. Maybe
This is 2004. This is the one I have, and this album fucking rules.
That
Yeah.
one's really good. Yeah. On that, the first two albums, that one and the second one, they go for the relatively long song structures. There's long solo sections and everything in the middle. On this one, they really kind of tighten the songs up and compact them down. So the
I'm gonna have to
songs,
get that one.
they're just as powerful. But instead of being like a 7-minute song with like a long open guitar solo, it's like a very tight 4.5-minute song where everything's still done really nicely. But yeah, they kind of are stripping it down and scrunching it into a smaller space, and it works really, really well.
Okay.
After this point, they started having lineup problems, guys in and out, and they kind of lost the muse. But yeah, the first three Hybria albums, great examples of Brazilian power metal at its finest.
Okay.
Okay,
Marty, over to you.
good pick. My friend Zoller told me when he presented that Hybria, actually he bought that record for me. He's like, this is the closest band I've found on this album that reminds me of Lost Horizon. And there's some definite, really great bass playing, kind of the same kind of punchy power metal. I don't know. Really good stuff. Let's go into the land of utter fucking cheese with I mean, again, if you buy that brick of Velveeta and you're like, how much am I willing to eat? This one I ate the whole fucking brick. I put it on crackers, I put it on sandwiches, I put it in a bowl and ate it with a spoon on this one. And that is with Sweden's Twilight Force.
Oh yeah.
And
it's another band I knew nothing about. I've heard their name a bazillion times.
Ultra super symphonic power metal. It's technical. You got artist renditions of the members of the band and like a fucking as elves and shit.
It's like a video game.
It's like a video game. And is this the one with the band picture? I hope so. I think it's their first album. There's a band picture. There's a guy with elf ears and they're all decked out in the armor and they say thank you to our girlfriends for their support. And I'm looking at this pictures and I'm like, there's no fucking way these guys have girlfriends. There's no fucking chance.
Make sure to mention our non-existent girlfriends.
But I've got all three of their albums. The first one I paid a lot more money for than I want to admit because I had to have it.
Yeah.
And it's just really symphonic power metal with a lot of narration that comes in. It's like really painting it's a conceptual album, and there's even karaoke versions of a couple of the songs on CD too, in case you want to, unless you want to put on some ears, fire up the karaoke machine and belt out some fucking 2016 Swedish power metal.
Oh wow.
It's really good. It's really, if you're into really technical power metal, it's good. It's good stuff. It's fun. Again, eat that brick of Velveeta and smile once in a while. It won't kill you.
These guys are citing Freedom Call. Does anybody know about Freedom Call?
Yeah, I've heard that name before.
I've got one album as a promo. I know Sasha from Halloween was in that band for a while.
Oh, and let's talk metal. Fucking X-Japan. Early X-Japan.
Andre mentioned them before. Yep.
What the fuck do y'all know about early X-Japan? That shit. I mean, that's so many things, but
that's Alan. Actually, that's
I think it's in the power metal category too. But I mean, they transcend so many things. But
yeah, it's been so long since I listened to that band. I can't comment on
Blue Blood era, like the late '80s Blue Blood album era. That is, to me, all the elements. And if anybody doesn't know about X-Japan, just when this is done, stay on YouTube and look up X-Japan, look up like Blue Blood live. You will be flattened. It's some of the most professional, mind-blowing shit I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it's one I need to revisit. So yeah, that was a great Andre. Yeah, mentioned them in the comments a few minutes ago. That was a great call out. I'm too rusty on X-Japan to talk sensibly about them tonight.
They're amazing, absolutely amazing.
I got to get on the Freedom Call thing. I've got one album. I haven't spun it in a million. Everybody keeps mentioning Manila Road. To me, they're always epic metal. I know it's like a subgenre of power metal or whatever, but you know, I have a hard time calling Manila Road power metal.
Again, they're a tough one, man, because I mean, you know, they're low gain in their guitars.
Yep.
So they have this like progressive 70s, like
Very 70s.
like, you know, what you would put like Uriah Heep in, like
it's a jam element. He was a very much a jam element to his from the 70s. It's a 70s feel.
But then it's like also proto metal. You could see that it's the seeds from where other metal bands spawned from, and
some of the early 80s stuff and some of the later stuff, you know, even has, you know, kind of a doomy tone and aura to it. You know, it's very heavy.
Fantasy. It does have the storytelling aspect to it, very kind of like bard-like in its approach, and that's power metal. So I totally see, you know, why you would bring Manila Road into the conversation.
Yeah. I mean, they deserve to be here, but
absolutely.
I mean, they're one of my favorite bands too. I've got everything they've done. It's so great, so good. Very few missteps.
No, yeah, it's true.
But you're back, Andrew. I got to pick another thing I forgot to pick. I'll be right back.
Ready? Okay. Well, I got another one that's what I would call like a line straddler, but to me, I revisited it last night and I'm like, no. Stay strong, Andrew. This is power metal. And I don't know if y'all know anything about this band from Netherlands, Defender. I know
I've heard the name, but yeah, I don't know.
A million bands called Defender, and rightfully so. It's a cool name. But this band's from the Netherlands, and they're from the early mid-'80s, 83, 85, and they never got off the ground as much as I felt they should have. They put out a handful of demos and singles, and then somebody finally took notice of it and said, let's put it all together. And that's why this is called Remaining Tales, because this was kind of after the fact and just like kind of like a compilation of everything they did. And it's definitely not on the polished side of things, and that's why someone may argue that it's not power metal. It's not very shiny in its production value. It's not very refined in its presentation or anything else, but it's really speedy. It's really, to me, it's got all the elements. It's triumphant. It's uplifting, shreddy, storytelling. You know, I mean, the first song is called "Tales of the Unexpected." It's fantastic in its lyrical approach, and man, the singer is just a fucking ace. I love this guy. You can find this stuff on YouTube quite easily. Again, this is another one to where if I had to recall where I acquired this, I couldn't tell you, but I'm glad I did. I bring it up in conversation. A lot of people don't know who the hell I'm talking about.
How many albums they have? They
really don't technically have an album. This is the closest thing that they've had to an album.
Oh, it's an EP?
Well, no, it's probably 11 or 12 songs, but it's a collection of demos and things like that, because they never, again, I think they just tried to get signed, and it was just bad timing, bad circumstances, whatever, and they just never got off the ground. But it's an album's worth of material here. And I want to say I got this maybe from Shadow Kingdom Records. I think
sounds like their kind of thing. Yep.
Yeah, totally. I want to say that's where I got it from, but and you can still find it now. It's definitely worth the money. If you've never heard it, listen to it on YouTube beforehand, but you'll buy it because it's that good.
Yeah. Someone mentioned someone in a comment on a video a while back mentioned that to me, and I played a couple of songs. I remember thinking, yeah, this is actually really good, but then I haven't followed up on it. And
Aaron Hunt just said City Ad Mortis. That EP is really good, and most of the songs on City Ad Mortis are on this. They're incredible. But if you like Savage Grace, I put them more in the Savage Grace category.
Okay.
It's because to me Savage Grace is a little like raw and unrefined and kind of like wild,
definitely.
Yep. And I love that about them. I love that. So yeah.
Hey, happy birthday, Glenn! Happy birthday, man! Thanks for hanging with us tonight. Cheers!
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Glenn!
Hope you don't break the spanking machine. I mean,
Oh, you're gonna need that spanking machine later.
you get spankings for your birthday, and just don't. Hopefully, you're not old enough where it's going to wear it out. Is what I'm saying. Not the other spanking. I wasn't trying to be dirty.
Right here, she'll give you the spanking later.
Right.
Too late.
All right, Alan, you're back. What have you got?
All right. As far as American power metal, yeah, it's funny. This came out, right, in the Keepers era, and Riot was doing their own thing. I flashed this on screen earlier, but wanted to circle back to it.
Great album.
Classic.
Yeah, classic album. It's a revamped Riot. They had been on hiatus for a couple of years. Mark Reale pulls together a brand new band and goes in a completely different direction from all their previous stuff. And damn, if he just doesn't nail it, almost, it's leans towards the European, what would become European power metal style, but does it better than 99% of the European bands ever have.
In such a good way.
Yeah, it's forceful, fast, powerful, killer vocals. Of course, with Mark playing guitar, it's going to sound great. He pulled in really good musicians, to help out with it. The first 7 out of 9 tracks on this album are just untouchable. If I have one complaint about the album, it loses a little bit of steam on the last 1 or 2 tracks. But if folks think that Americans don't have good power metal albums or something, this would always be the very first thing I'd say. I'd have to disagree. Just this album alone gives the US a good stake in power metal circles.
It's the most Euro sounding non-Euro album like ever, I think.
It's very much up there. The one after that, Privilege of Power, is very close in style too. And that one, I think a lot of people just never got around to checking out. But and it does have it goes in a few odd directions. It's a bit over the top. But personally, I always liked it. It's got all these weird, sound clips in between the songs. Reportedly, their manager added a lot of that stuff. The band didn't even know it was going to be on the album. He wanted it to try to sound more like an Operation Mindcrime thing. So he added all these news clips and sound effects of people flipping through TV stations, listening to all these headlines being read and stuff, which the band was just like, the fuck this come from?
Right.
And there are a couple of songs on there that lean a lot more accessible, but in a good way. But there are some total speed metal hell burners on Privilege of Power. It has a goofy album cover. It looks a little weird and bubblegummy, but if you ever passed on Privilege of Power for some reason,
well,
it's got to be, it's not as good as Thundersteel, but it's in the same, in the same category.
Riot's always been known for some questionable album covers, let's be honest. But
did they ever have a good album cover?
I mean, The Seal. But the Thundersteel, is there a better album title in existence than Thundersteel?
Yes, the title track. You really can't ask for more out of the genre than that.
Yeah, right out of the gate.
All right. Let's get into, since I already elaborated on some Swedish cheese, we're going to stay with that. This was the album from this band that made me a believer. Me 15, 20 years ago, there's no fucking way this would have passed the door frame of my house. But here it is. And I love it. It's inspired me to buy other stuff. It's very much pop-oriented power metal. The next couple I'm going to show are in that realm. And it's Sabaton with Heroes.
Okay.
This album fucking rules. The songwriting is so good. The vocal choirs, I mean, it's super catchy, almost pop-like. Pop structures.
Very
heavy, very catchy. Joaquin has got a very distinct, clear vocal style that you can hear everything he's singing about. He rolls those R's, which, is a very Scandinavian thing to do. And us Americans try to do it. We sound like we're trying to get like a piece of meat out of our teeth. But, Kellen, I didn't pull any Glory Hammer, but I've got all the Glory Hammer albums because my kid loves them. And it's the same. It's the same as this, man, except Glory Hammer wear capes. These guys wear camo. Glory Hammer wear capes.
And their name is better too. Glory Hammer's a killer name.
It's a good,
It
yeah,
works. It works.
it's a killer name, and they write in the same kind of pop sensibility. The shit is very grandiose, very bombastic, very hooky, very chorus driven, like this stuff. There is not a bad song on this record. It is very well written, excellent poppy power metal. And this is very European sounding. This is kind of the way the Europeans have gone with the power metal a little bit.
It's the definition of anthemic, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Totally anthemic.
yeah, I mean every song, and you know,
It's triumphant. It's dealing about, you know, actual events in history.
Right.
So it's very cool. And they bring a good stage show, and they put on a good show.
yeah.
And
I mean, and they're, you know, we're not in the minority here. They're a very popular band too.
very popular, very popular. I mean, they just did a tour in the US with Judas Priest.
Right.
So,
there you go.
you know, Ironflame or Glorious Dead aren't getting on that fucking show.
Well, they're not.
It's just not happening.
No way. Right.
Nope. But yeah, Sabaton. Roll your eyes all you want, people. This album rules. And this was my gateway. This is still my favorite. This Heroes album is exceptional. It's a really great record.
Nice.
Okay. I said my piece on Sabaton. It's only going to get cheesier from here.
I'm going to talk about a band that I don't know, maybe y'all might know, and you might not. I just discovered them a few years ago. I started talking to the vocalist a few years ago. He owns a water sports store up in Portland, Oregon, and he has a little record shop inside of that store. And he bought a couple of Ironflame albums wholesale, and we started talking, and I realized, oh fuck, he's in a really good band that's got some heritage from the 80s. And we've kind of just grown closer and closer and closer over the years. We played a festival with them a month ago up in New England, Stormbringer Festival, and unfortunately they played the night before we got there, so I didn't get to see them live. But they also played Headbangers Open Air in Germany last weekend, and they played after us, and I did get to see them live, and they blew me away. And they're a band that was, like I said, from the 80s. They're back now, and stronger than ever. If you have not heard this album yet,
I haven't.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
Nice
And
pick.
to me, you know, I had to give it a hard listen before, you know, we did this discussion tonight to see, is it power metal? And well, you know, number one, let's look at the cover. You know I still have the plastic on this thing because I have it on my phone and I listen to it constantly on my phone. But, you know, I mean, does it get much more power metal than that visually? I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know if it does. You know, like taking a selfie with an hourglass in Antarctica. I mean, you know, it's total power metal. And then again, the lyrical content, the approach to the songs, it's totally triumphant, uplifting, really above average musicianship, and killer production. I think this was a pandemic album. It came out in 2020.
Mhm.
It came out at the right time when I really needed a rope to grab onto in the sea musically. And man, it grabbed me immediately. And the songs are just killer. Every song is different. There's really no repetition on it. And man, once I saw them live, it sealed the deal for me. And, you know, the Ironflame boys and the Icarus Witch boys can attest. I didn't shut up about them after they played. The rhythm section in particular, the bass player and the drummer were just so stand out in a sea of, you know, these metal bands that were playing that festival. You know, it's always all about the guitar and the vocal.
Yeah.
It's rare to have a proficient above average rhythm section, and these guys were just like almost progressive in their musicianship, their tightness, and it made them stand out so much, and the crowd noticed it and responded.
Yeah.
I was blown away by this album in 2020, and I'm still just as impressed with it now. Mike is a killer dude. He's a fantastic guy on top of being an amazing musician. And I don't know, man, this is just, this is exactly what I needed in 2020. So thanks, Mike, for putting out this amazing album. If anybody's not heard Glacier, please get The Passing of Time.
I need to check it out. I've seen a lot of people talk. Alan's even talked about it, I think, haven't you?
Yep. Oh yeah,
Right.
the first track, the first track on that album, Eldest and Truest, that is one of the, I mean, there's tons of good songs that come out all the time.
Yeah.
That is one of the best heavy metal songs released in recent memory.
Agreed.
That the album is worth it for that one song. If there was nothing else on the album, it'd be worth it for that one.
The thing about those guys too is that they wear that cloak almost invisibly, to where, you know, people who would never say that they like power metal would totally appreciate Glacier as a traditional band, because they totally fit in that category too, just as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
yeah,
you know, I had the opportunity to praise them. They fit in that category, so that's why I chose that.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, they only really had the one EP back in the day. It's been one of those underground, cult, classics among collectors for a long time.
Yeah, in their activity, but man, they were just strong as ever.
Temperance, I know Serenity. Yep. I don't know Temperance. And
Todd says you're holding out on him.
What, Glacier? Oh man, I thought you knew, Todd. I'm sorry. For some reason, I thought we talked about Glacier.
Let's see.
There you go.
That one's been one of those very collectible gem, one of the real overlooked gems in the from the 80s kind of independent metal releases for a long time. Collectors have been on that one for a long time, so it's kind of expensive, unfortunately.
Okay, Professor Steele, you're back.
Okay, let's visit another country. Greece is a country that's famous for the passion and fanaticism of their metal fans. Power metal bands tend to go over quite well there. There's a lot of Greek bands out there. There's always been one though that I thought was a cut above the others, and unfortunately they haven't done a ton of stuff to date. But the one I'm talking about is Crosswind. This is from Stormspell. It collects a couple of their demos. They did get a full album out eventually. I think there's some lineup changes and such. The stuff on the demos here, especially the first demo, this is just complete balls out power metal, but very heavy at the same time. The Greeks always do a good take on power metal. I always feel like, and I hate to generalize, I feel like with a lot of Greek bands, though, they need a little extra oomph to them. Crosswind does not have that problem. Crosswind abso-fucking-lutely crushes it. It's fast. It's powerful. Everything is on point. If you'd asked me, if you played this for me, like, hey, where's this band from? I'd immediately said Germany. And you'd have said no. And I'd been like, that's German. That's got to be German. That is really in the mold of all the German masters.
I'm writing it down, Alan. Damn it.
I've never heard of it either. So do you
order? Yeah, next time you order from
Moonstar, I mentioned Firewind. So do you put them in the category you feel like they need a little extra the oomph?
No, I think Firewind is pretty good too. I have not listened to Firewind in a long time, but I remember them, being quite solid too.
I didn't know they were from Greece.
I had forgotten they were from Greece, so thanks, Moonstar, for reminding me about Firewind.
Was a Swedish band to me. They said.
There's a bunch of bands that came out there in like the very early and mid 2000s. Firewind, Twilight Force. There's a bunch of them that I tend to get. Silent Force, that I tend to get a little bit jumbled up sometimes. Anyway, not a well-known band here, and I'd say start with the demos, not the full-length album that came a little bit later. This is great.
That's what that one is there?
Yes, it's called Opposing Forces. Killer cover art. Jordan from Stormspell, usually has good cover art, but I always thought this one looked especially good.
That's either a really tiny dragon or a really big griffin. I can't tell what.
It's a human kind of thing, and yes, I'm guessing it's not a tiny dragon. It's a drake. Get your terminology right.
Picking the proportions here.
Are they? Is that what they call a juvenile dragon these days? Is a drake?
No,
isn't that what they call a male duck?
Drake branch on the
Dragon, man.
phylogenetic tree. They are typically only have 2 legs instead of 4 legs, and they are smaller in size, but they have the same general proportion and overall phenotype.
Yeah.
Well, ducks, a drake, a male duck is
Cryptozoology,
also known as a drake, and it only has 2 legs.
Don't make me go cryptozoology on you, Marty. Very, very fast.
You don't want to go down with Alan, I think.
You don't want to do that.
We'll take you to school and drive you back home again.
That man. But yeah, crosswinds are really. I wanted to try to pick some things from a few different countries, and this is almost my go-to for Greek.
Yeah, I think that's a rad cover. I like the cover.
That is a cool cover.
Cool cover, cool demos. There's one thing that will look a little odd at first. There's a cover of all things, Queensryche's Walk in the Shadows on here.
Yeah.
But boy, they nail it. It's really good. So I mean, they can also play outside. They don't have to do just the full on double bass drum speed attack. They can back it off and nail it on something like Walk in the Shadows even.
Alan rolled a D20 with that comment.
Well, Darren, Crosswind might give a male duck a sword. Apparently, they have on their demos compilation.
Yeah.
It's a fire-breathing duck, is what you call a drake in D&D world. Okay.
There you go.
Simon, who's got 2 thumbs, 1 million hit points, and maximum charisma? This guy.
This guy.
Marty, what have you got?
Well, I'm rolling with the. I'm still on the cheese train. I'm on the cheese train to Velveeta Town. With I'm in Germany, and I mentioned Sabaton, and you really can't mention Sabaton without mentioning this band because I feel they fit in a similar songwriting style. They got that poppy, big grandiose choruses that the song is geared towards. Sometimes they'll start the song off. What?
Marty, don't fail your critical save roll here. You only get 1 throw at that.
Oh man, this is fruit, Marty.
The drunker I get, the better I roll, by the way. Just ask my friends at Axis and Allies.
All
I've
right.
been so fucking drunk and crushed them with very little army left.
Your drunk luck.
Drunk luck.
Yeah.
But
What do you mean you're sending your entire fleet into the middle of the Atlantic to sink one damn German sub? Get back to the coast!
roll them. That was one night. What the fuck? I heard that a lot. This is bullshit. I heard that a lot too. It's like, suck it, bitches. All right. Here we go. Very poppy, grandiose choruses. Sometimes the choruses start the song. Very much a poppy songwriting trick. But we're going with Germany's Ogen with To the End. I love this record, man. This is another road trip album for me. It's so catchy. It's a sing-along album.
How old is it?
This came out in, oh God, I'm old and blind and I got dim lights in here because I'm trying to look less fat.
Readers like me, man. I wouldn't be able to see shit without these readers.
2013.
Okay.
This is the Argentinian pressing on Icarus, but yeah, this is a German band. They've got a bunch of albums out, not a bunch, maybe 5 or 6. Some of them are really good. There's one with a bunch of bodies hanging on poles burning that's kind of cool too, but this is my favorite. This is like, again, the way European power metal has gone, especially the Germans. Very much a poppy power metal album. I don't see anybody jumping in saying, yeah, this band's great. Rick sent me a vinyl of one of their earlier albums as well. It's awesome. These guys are fun. Just really good formula. Really super catchy. Did you get this, Alan? What's that?
Are they still around?
I haven't bought it.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Alan?
Yeah, I've checked them out.
You didn't like it?
It wasn't bad. It didn't blow me away right away, so I haven't circled back to it. But it wasn't bad.
I'm a sucker for the choruses, man. I'm a sucker for that, and they got it in spades on there. It's awesome.
Right on. Well, I'll check that out. I'll definitely check that out because I've not heard of it either.
Ogen, Ordenogan. Good stuff.
Okay. I mean, yeah.
If you're into the cheese, which I know you're not.
Maybe though. You never know. I'm getting more open-minded as this night transpires, my friend. You know, this is enlightening to me, and I love it.
Okay, you're up, Andrew.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna say now I don't have too many left here because I'm just so woefully inept in my collection, but I have 2 left, so I guess I should probably present them at the same time because it's the same band. But I saved them for last for numerous reasons. The main reason because I'm pretty sure neither of you have heard of them. I know
Challenge accepted.
Yeah, right. Well, I don't think a lot of people have heard of them. They're not a signed band, and I happened upon them just because of their name, and I'll do that a lot. I mean, I don't think I'm alone here. You'll see a name and you're like, man, that's got to be cool, and you'll have to check it out just because of the name.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
I'm of the opinion currently of all the bands that exist on the planet right now that these guys have the best band name in existence right now.
Condor. Well, there's a band called Condor, actually.
This band is called Don't Drop the Sword. Don't Drop the Sword.
Which was the second choice. The first one was Soap. Don't drop the soap.
Okay. This is a German band. So I don't think they get the US, don't drop the soap reference. I don't know if they get it. But I don't care because they're called Don't Drop the Sword. I mean,
Now that's how you fail your save it roll right there.
exactly, right?
Are you sure
Cool
you want
cover.
to name your band this? I don't know. Let's see what I
as
roll.
you can see, this album art is absolutely gorgeous.
It's awesome. Yeah, very cool.
And
Logo's too big, but yeah,
let
it's cool.
me tell you, if you were to hearken or liken this band to anyone, it would be a young blind guardian. These guys really ape early blind guardian very well, but have enough originality to where it keeps you coming back for more. Even so far as the singer kind of sounds like Hansi, man. Like he's got a Hansi thing going on. I mean, I think these guys are from Hamburg area.
You can see Ellen's boner from the Wild Hunt right now, looking down.
I'm typing it in the mothership right now. So
yeah. This first EP is called The Wild Hunt. And I guess that's why I should probably present these both as one, because this is an EP, and then my good friend Rolf from Germany, when I reunited with him this past weekend, it was really weird cosmically because we were in Göppingen playing a show, and I was wearing a Don't Drop the Sword shirt, and Rolf walks up to me and, hey, man, how you been? So good to see you. He's like, I have a gift for you. And he produced this, which was the new Don't Drop the Sword EP, Prelude, Age of Heroes, which, again, look at the cover art. You're still tripping over the name, Marty, right?
Darren says, don't drop the dolphin or unsigned too.
The fucking rules, man. The album art is very, it's quintessential power metal. Age of Heroes doesn't get much more power metal than that. But, where my friend Rolf really went the extra mile is he contacted the band and he had them personalize it to me and autographed it.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, and I was really, really humbled by that. But it was just so weird that I was wearing a Don't Drop the Sword shirt when he gifted me this.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but this has a really good cover of Traveler in Time, Uriah Heep, Traveler in Time. They're just a really amazing. These guys are unsigned, and that's the big what the fuck about this band is that they're unsigned. I've talked to them via email back and forth because I'm kind of a fanboy, but I never really got to the point to ask him like, yo, are you unsigned because you want to be unsigned? Because even when we were listening last night, me and my girl, this came on and she's like, these guys aren't signed. I'm like, I know, right? Like it's a totally above average musicianship, and everything that you love about Old Blind Guardian is there. The classical edge is there. And they just do it really well, man. I think they're really young. I want to say they're probably in their early 20s.
Rick,
but
are they unsigned because they keep dropping the contract?
Yeah, you know, there's so many,
I held on to the sword, but I dropped the ball, man.
you know? I fucking love it, dude. And I think this is the second EP. And the very first EP was called Into the Fire. Don't drop the sword into the fire. Come on, you guys. Dude,
I've got it wrote down. I'm going to check it out. There's no way
me,
I'm not going to
everything
check it out.
I love about metal because it's insanely good music, but it's not taking themselves too seriously either. At the same time,
Yeah,
you're just dudes rocking out, and I just appreciate the fuck out of that, and it's really catchy shit. And like we said before, Blind Guardian are the torch bearers. So if you're gonna sound like anybody, sound like the best, right? That's just how I feel. And admittedly, the Blind Guardian, they went through a lot of changes. They don't sound like they did back in the day. So somebody needs to sound like this now, and these guys are doing it. So for fuck's sakes, when you get off here, check out "Don't Drop the Sword."
They keep dropping the pen, which is mightier than the sword. Says Laz. Thanks for that one, Dwayne. Good one.
Yeah, folks are on point. You hate to say it because it should never really come down to this. One problem with getting signed, that name probably is a little bit of a barrier to getting signed as a band.
See, to me, if I was an A&R dude, I'd be like, "You're signed immediately. You're signed."
Yeah,
on that, just on your band name alone, I don't care if you suck. You're signed.
Yeah. Well, I would
guess maybe that's why I'm not an A&R guy, right?
That's why they don't pay us to do that.
Yeah,
I can see labels being being one of those things where like maybe someone can be like, your music's cool, but can we talk about a name change?
Dude, I could say with all confidence that is the whole reason I sought that band out is I saw them mentioned somewhere and I was like, oh my God, I have to hear what this sounds like. Like I had to seek it out. And I was not disappointed. Just saying.
Let me someone mentioned when we were talking about Don't Drop the Sword, they mentioned Megaton Sword. Have you heard them?
Oh yeah, very good.
What do you think? I tried to turn Alan onto it and I was shocked that he didn't like it that much. I was kind of surprised.
Well, I mean, a lot of times, bands just, it's a lot of timing. It's a lot of it's some timing. Sometimes bands hit you at an inopportune time. And then you hear them, 3 months later or 3 years later, and you're like, "What the fuck was I thinking?" I really like this.
They lack a really great guitar player, but they've got cool riffs and a great singer, a very unique singer.
I really like the singer.
I do too. That's the pull. That Blood Hails Steel, Steel Hails Fire song. Oh my God, what a fucking song! So good.
Yep, I would agree.
All right, Alan, you are up.
Okay, let's give Italy their moment to shine here because Italy's had some good power metal bands too. Rhapsody is the 800-pound unicorn in the room when it comes to Italian power metal. I liked the first Rhapsody album. I showed it earlier. I did feel Rhapsody got they've had their ups and downs. Some albums are good, some albums are a little boring. They did quickly become the definition of the cheesy fantasy style, European power metal. But a different Italian band that never got quite as much love, but did some cool stuff was Labyrinth. This is their second album called Return to Heaven Denied.
Yeah.
And these guys were on Metal Blade for some of their albums. They, did get, some good distribution and such. Labyrinth do not go in that sort of classic medieval fantasy direction so much. Their songs, lyrics tend to be a little more contemporary, not always, but sometimes. Good musicianship. They have, I always describe it as kind of like a warm, almost romantic vibe to their music. They get it's still fast. It still has the showy guitars and stuff. But they're not trying to get you to just bang your head as fast as you can and throw up the horns. The songs are fast; they can gallop and all that. But just something the way the songs are put together, the vocalist is very good. He's got more of a crooning kind of voice. Yeah, this is very much the kind of thing that yes will appeal maybe if you're trying to get a girlfriend or someone interested.
Oh.
And sometimes that's a criticism we didn't mention before, but sometimes power metal gets the reputation as being, it's the girly type of metal.
Right.
And I never understood that as a criticism, because
I
for
never did either.
most guys, this is like, isn't that a good thing?
was
Wouldn't you
gonna say.
like to go to a concert and have a lot of ladies
Actually see a
there
female in the audience, right?
just saying.
Uh-huh.
Labyrinth really had that vibe on their early albums. They had lineup issues as well. Some of their albums are a bit of a miss. The one after this is not nearly as good. They had the lineup change. I forget the title of the third one. It's got what's his name? He did all the CGI artwork in the early 2000s. Travis Smith.
Oh yeah, Travis Smith.
Yeah, he did the cover on the third one, and it's just like this screaming face in the middle of a flower. It's a really bad. Travis obviously did a lot of really great iconic covers. That one,
not so much.
Ooh, no, that he did that one on a budget or as a favor or pro bono or something.
Yeah. Is that the first one, Alan?
This is one right here is their second. Return to Denied.
I think that was the one that I heard, and it's been a long time. What year is that?
This one is right on the 99-2000 line.
Okay. I remember
the shitty Photoshop art.
90.
And, the album art. It's one of those like kind of default, like, well, I guess we've got nothing else, so we'll go with this.
Well, the thing of it is, as a screen printer, I mean, and as a band guy,
yeah,
you got to look at your band artwork, because let's be honest, this day and age, the way bands are making money is they're selling merch on the road. If you look at your album cover and it's going to look like crap on a shirt, it's wrong. It's the wrong album art. There's no way all 12 members of that band did look at that album cover and went, "This is gonna fucking this is what we're thinking." Woo,
right.
You know.
But I remember listening to that, and I'm pretty sure it was that album, and thinking, I really like this, but I feel like I shouldn't like this.
Yeah.
There were things about it that I normally wouldn't like if it was another band doing it. And I didn't know that they were Italian. You said they're Italian, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't know that they were Italian. I didn't know where they were from. But yeah, I just remember thinking, like, I like this, but I like, by all standards, I really shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
But it was
that's another thing with power metal we could bring up, Alan. I think that as metalheads, we're like, I was this way too when I was younger and listened to all the heavy extreme shit. I couldn't like any of this stuff. It's too weak. It's too this. It's too cheesy. But the older I get, want to be happier, and no one is here looking over my shoulder while I'm listening to music in my house for personal enjoyment. This isn't a popularity contest. We're not trying to impress anyone. There's no guilty pleasures. You listen to what you like. You like rap, great. You like folk, great. You like cheesy Italian power metal with purple paint covers that suck. Awesome. Go for it. We're not being graded. We're getting through this, trying to feel better about situation, and music is a great way to do that. It can bring us down, it can bring us up. It's all, there's no one's checking our paper on this one.
Nope.
Yeah. And interestingly, there are a few other Italian bands that do this same kind of, again, for lack of a better term, I call it, it's the romantic, it's the style of power metal. Secret Sphere have done several albums. They're very good, but they have the same kind of take on power metal, where they're focusing on kind of the romanticism a little bit more so than the fantasy in the medieval sense.
Okay.
Labyrinth did actually a Return to Heaven Denied Part 2 album later on. That was kind of a return to form. It's good as well. It's a pretty long album, but they kind of got back on track with that one. So yeah, there's this weird subset of Italian bands they keep it out of the castles and stuff for the most part, and kind of move it to the boudoir, so to speak. Boudoir is bedroom.
Yes.
I hope I got that right. Okay. Yeah.
No one's judging you or grading you on that either. So thank you.
I got graded on plenty of foreign language stuff in school, and that did not go well. I am not professor of foreign language, that's for sure.
Same. Guilty.
All right,
buddy. What you want to show?
Well, before I get too far into Germany, I might as well just, Andrew already showed it. I mean, this is the birthplace of German power metal.
That's the best power metal ever made, Marty.
What's that?
That's the best power metal album ever made.
That's the Bible, yep.
But when we did our ranking, I picked this one, didn't I?
You picked yes, and you were wrong then, and you're wrong now.
Well, I guess that's the new Bible, right?
This is the new one. I mean, this album has brought me so much joy.
Oh, it's a great album.
I've
Absolutely.
bought it 3 times. This is a Japanese import that's got 4 bonus tracks on the. But
Which are just as strong as the rest of the songs.
the last song, "We Are Real," it's
Well,
tough. It's got a Ramones feel to it, and I didn't like it very much. But Pumpkins United, of course, that was their comeback song.
yeah.
That the Japanese version's got the Pumpkins United and that "We Are Real" song. But I don't know. This is the birthplace. It's an eternal classic, one of the best ever. This is, I mean, I personally, I've said it a million times, didn't want Halloween to reunite with Kai and Kiska because I liked Unisonic. I liked what Kai and Kiska were doing with Unisonic. I liked Darius and Halloween. I thought both camps were doing just fine without each other. And I thought Andy would be relegated to the background with Kiska and Kai and back in the band. Not true.
Nope.
Not true. When it happened, when they did the live shit, I saw it live and went, wow, they're really incorporating this shit well. I hear the album for the first time. Kai and Andy together make magic. Their vocals, the way their vocals unite in the backgrounds, in the foregrounds, the way they trade back and forth. There's no ego present, which is rare. It's rare for bands of this caliber to step back and say, okay, you take I wrote this song, but you're going to sing on it. I mean, it's rare.
It really is.
What a fucking album. Still, everybody roll your eyes. I don't care. This thing is a beast.
No, fuck that. I totally agree with you, man.
Yep.
Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
So good.
Yep.
So
Oh,
good.
No, it's a fantastic album.
Yep. Totally agree.
We've never talked about it on this channel, I know. So this might be something new for you people that haven't heard about it, but it's a band called Halloween, and they put out a new album last year, self-titled. Pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah. They flattened.
Banger TV didn't like it. How good can it be?
Sarah wasn't thinking clearly. Anyway, you're done, Andrew?
That's it. I don't have anything else. I'm sorry.
Don't be.
You've had tons
I'm getting it wrapped up here. I got a couple more. Alan, you got a couple more, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'll flip through a few quick ones. There's some honorable mentions, no problem. Let's pick and choose some things.
Choose wisely.
It's this band definitely goes, in the cheese category for a lot of folks. A lot of folks don't like them, but again, they've played an important role in power metal, especially in the past 20 years. It's Dragon Force out of the UK.
I mean, they had to be mentioned. Come on, let's be honest.
Have to be mentioned. They really do. The UK doesn't have a ton of power metal bands necessarily to mention, unless you go back to some of the ones that were rooted in the new wave of British heavy metal. And yes, Guitar Hero helped make this band. But as a result, there's a lot of folks that played that video game, found out about this band, and then went and started checking out power metal bands and other albums.
And it's got all the ingredients. I mean, in spades.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I pulled this one. I think it's their best. The second one, Sonic Firestorm.
Yeah.
They're a fun band. No, they can't play it perfectly live. So what?
But here's what I think is really cool, Alan. And I didn't realize they did this until they toured last year, and they found Ironflame on social media, and they reached out and said, "Hey, we're touring and we're playing Cleveland. We checked you guys out. You guys are awesome.
Oh, cool.
And what we do is we would like your guitar player to come to our show in Cleveland and come in the middle of our set and get up on stage and shred with us for 5 minutes." Is that a doable thing? I'm like,
that's badass.
Yeah, let me get a hold of my guitar player. But yeah, I think that's a doable thing. So I did, and of course he said yes. And yeah, he got up and they do this weird medley that is oddly enough based around a banjo track. They play this like shred banjo. Is what kicks off this impromptu kind of jam session. And then they're like, "Please welcome Quinn Lucas from Ironflame." And he comes out on stage and shreds in that key for 3.5 minutes. And they do this when every town they go to, they reach out to local bands.
That's really cool.
Yeah, isn't that like a super cool concept?
Yeah.
I just thought that was like really fucking clever, and I guess they're pro as fuck. They were super cool dudes, very laid back, no ego. I don't know, and their heyday was probably 15, 16 years ago, let's be honest, but they're still packing in big shows. And
Dragon Force, hell, they played Traverse City less than a mile from my house
there you go.
years ago.
There you go. Yeah. So I
Yeah,
just thought that was really cool,
That is a cool one. See, Marty, do you want to trade back and forth on some very quick ones to wrap up, or do you want me just to burn through a short stack?
We can trade. I mean, I've got a couple here.
Okay.
I'm staying on the kind of a Halloween tip, I guess. I've talked about this band as well. Master Plan, the self-titled Master Plan album. Roland Grappow, when he was fired from Halloween, started a new band with Jorn Landa on vocals, who is quite honestly the best part of this album. He is a fantastic singer. He's kind of like I've said before, heavy metal foreigner is what this sounds like. Ooh. He's got just a raspy, bluesy tone. Fantastic singer. Would you agree, Alan?
Yes.
And Roland's, I mean, there's some obvious Halloweenisms on here. Roland was a contributing writer to the Darius era. And this is a great record, man. It's kind of positive, uplifting. Spirit Never Dies is a great song. I can't read the damn Crystal Night. What a fucking great song. This is full of some awesome tracks. And Jorn Landa, if you have not heard this guy sing,
I've not.
He is fantastic. Heavy metal foreigner, man. Just that bluesy, raspy, a lot of passion.
Yeah, you had me at heavy metal foreigner. So.
He gives it when he's like, he doesn't sing out. He's kind of like a Dio type where he doesn't sing outside of his range. He knows where he needs to be, but in that range, he really gives it, really a lot of power to it. It's the second one, Aeronautics. Is that the name of the second one, Alan?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Also really, really good. But this one I think is my favorite of the two for sure.
Okay.
All right, do it. I will do like a very quick burn on 10 more power metal albums, and I'll call it a night there. Just because I pulled way too much stuff, but that's okay. I didn't know what other people would show and pick, so I wanted to cover bases.
Right here, Moon Sorrow. People call him the cross between Dio and Coverdale. Sorry, that's a great and foreigner too. I mean, there's some foreigner.
But another good one from Sweden that we haven't mentioned yet tonight, Nocturnal Rites. This is their second, Tales of Mystery and Imagination. Still featuring the old Gotham City vocalist at this stage. He was on the first 3 albums. Excellent
great band.
Swedish power metal in the European direction. Funny name for a power metal band, but they actually started out as more of like a black or death metal project, but quickly gears.
But another band that was doing it when it was not cool to be doing that stuff,
Yes. So this band emerged in the mid 90s and got a following in Europe and very hard to get in the US at that time. A couple of quick German ones we haven't mentioned. Early Edguy is really, really good in that kind of symphonic direction. Yeah. They did get a little too silly for their own good.
Kind of silly, but
I can never get past the name, honestly.
It was always struck me as what the heck is that band like? But I read enough reviews and finally got to hear it's like, oh, okay.
I know they're a good band, but god damn it. God damn
it. Don't drop the floor.
Can't get over it. Like who voted that name in? Come on, you guys. I mean, was anybody in the band present when that name got voted in? I mean, just saying.
But let's see. Not going to dwell on them because we've talked about them a ton at other times, but can't talk power metal without saying the words Running Wild.
Yep.
One of the real legacy bands out of Germany, one of the absolute best.
My 2 picks. Running Black Hand In and Death or Glory. I was thinking Power of the Glory. That's fucking Saxon.
German band that has never gotten much praise but deserves it. Heaven's Gate. This was Sasha Payeth's band before he kind of became more of like a producer, and he's a great producer. He's produced tons of metal albums, does guest appearances on albums. Living in Hysteria, just a fantastic, fun album. Another German one that never gets much praise. This one goes out to Jürgen, the band Attack. Very much in the tradition of all the other German bands. This one just never got their foot in the door as much, but they made some great albums. This is 7 years in the past, one of their best Japanese imports.
Okay.
It was the only way to get it. For folks, again, power metal is a really deep one. We've seen a ton of folks mentioning a ton of bands in the chat. If someone's looking for a place to start, hey, you can always go back to compilations. There was a series put out on what label was this? SPV LMP. I think SVP is the distro. But Louder Than the Dragon. This is volume 2. It's a 2-disc set. And just features a lot of different bands that were on the label at the time. Most of these are good. None of them are household names, really. You've got Black Majesty, Cryonic Temple, Eldritch is on here, Eternal Rain, Galaglass is a cool band, Gun Barrel, Pagan's Mind, Wizard. So yeah, there are some good power metal compilations out there. Then bringing it back around to the US. Never hear anybody talk about this album or this band, but Steel Assassins, War of the Eight Saints. This is like Yag Panzer on steroids. The vocalist sounds like Harry Conklin. And yes, it's just like someone gave Yag Panzer a hell of a lot of coke and recorded it, and it's glorious.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question real quick?
Yes.
If a motherfucker's got wings on it, on him, why does he need a horse? If he got wings, why do you need a horse?
Because metal.
You got to go into a cave. Sometimes you got to go under a low bridge.
Sometimes
it's stormy outside, like tornadoes and lightning and stuff.
You answered your own question. That's good. That's good.
I just had to figure that out through words.
But yeah, this is another good example of US power metal that's got a whole lot of balls to it. And I think, again, back to our original discussion, sometimes that's something people complain about in general, that Euro power metal is a little too, some folks were making this, too many frilly shirts and things. But no, there's no frilly shirts here. These guys will rip your fucking nuts off with a rusty screwdriver and cram it down your throat. Great album. Virgin Steel, long time metal faves from the US have never gotten.
I'm glad you brought them up. They needed to be mentioned.
Yep. Marriage of Heaven and Hell is one of their best. Love this album. Tons of great tracks.
That album cover speaks to me.
Yeah.
You can't, sir. This is a family podcast. Related to Virgin Steel, their original guitarist split off and did the Burning Star project.
Yes.
And this is some of their albums were a little hit or miss, but this
is kind of a cool cover. That's actually kind of cool.
Pretty rad, yeah.
This is not the original cover art, though, to be fair. But yeah, No Turning Back by Jack Starr. Great.
Is the shit, man.
Vocalist is Mike Torelli. Sounds a little bit like Tony Moore from the Thundersteel era Riot albums on vocals. This, again, some people, you'd listen to this and you'd swear it was a European power metal band, but in a good way.
It's fantastic, man.
Yeah. But again, Burning Star has been a little hit or miss over the years. Jack Starr's, let's just say his politics are a little weird for some folks these days, but whatever.
Aaron says the horse is for meat.
Hey, when you're going that far inland, you eventually run out of dolphin snacks. So
that's right. When the dolphin runs out, you still have horse.
So many animal lovers out there just unsubscribed.
Oh well.
Last one, and then I'll shut up. But this is an overlooked classic from US scene, and whether you want to call this power or traditional metal, I don't know. But Into the Mirror Black, Sanctuary's second album and their best album. Most folks always talk about the first one, which is a good album, but this one has so much atmosphere to it. Real sense of foreboding in a lot of the lyrics. Just incredibly well done. A dark, classy sounding album from start to finish. Sad that I really hated that this band, fell apart, and Nevermore was. They made one album I liked, but I never quite got into Nevermore. They were So there's 10 more quick looks at some other power metal albums if folks are really wanting to dive deep this weekend on the YouTubes. All right, Marty, bring us on home.
Flying to the horse comment. Okay. I got one last German poll here. Iron Savior, another Halloween connection. This album is amazing.
Yeah.
Great album. It's got Kai Hansen from Halloween on guitar. He was in the band for 3 or 4 albums. This is their debut. And my favorite, I've only have like 4 of their albums, and all of them are good, but this one is exceptional. It's got kind of that early Halloween vibe with a little bit of a speed metal kiss to it, if you want to go that far. Came out in 97 on Noise Records. Excellent, well-written, superior German power / speed metal. And since Alan showed Sanctuary, I pulled my favorite Nevermore CD. This is their best one, as far as I'm concerned. It's got Born on it.
Yeah.
It's just amazing technical guitar work. Worrell sounds great. The songwriting is great. It's a fantastic record. Really good.
Yeah, I like Dead Heart in a Dead World better than that one, but that's just
that one's
me.
really good too.
Someone in the comments brought up Judicator too. I'm glad.
I've been hearing good things about that band, but I have
they're
not checked them.
fantastic. And that little side project that came out of that Dire Peril. I don't know if you ever heard Dire Peril, but
Don't know that one.
Yeah, Judicator and Dire Peril, definitely both worth checking out. Again,
Moonstar,
if you're on the Blind Guardian tip.
I failed you. You're right. I forgot to pull Scanner. Hypertrace.
I was waiting for it. You didn't pull it.
Classic fucking record. No, I didn't pull it. Totally forgot. You didn't pull
Halloween,
Sabotage.
then you forgot about it.
Yeah, I get
You are
Halloween. I get all
full of-
excited.
You're a fickle lover.
I am. You didn't pull Sabotage. I didn't see Sabotage. Oh yeah, you showed Hollow Mountain King.
It's kind of it's like Andrew said. It's one of those that kind of straddles the line. I don't know.
I had it in my list and I pulled it out.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I call Sabotage power metal.
Yeah.
Kind of. Some albums maybe more than others.
Right. Hall of the Mountain King maybe the most.
Yeah, that'd been the one I was gonna pull, but
Tower of the Night and Mountain King, would be maybe the area that
It's right there, yeah.
Oh, Ben, you asked silly questions. That was the first thing I showed.
Of course we did. Of course we did. Yes.
All right, next up. Kind of surprised this made it through without being shown, but Queensryche.
I was wondering if it was going to get brought up.
Yeah, lots of folks have been shouting out that one.
Absolute classic album.
Yeah.
The EP is really good too, and Rage for Order also really killer, strong power metal as far as I'm concerned.
Oh yeah, it's a fantastic album.
Man, I pulled a couple Manowar albums, but I don't know if it's really what I would call power metal. I don't know.
Yeah, it's on the fence for sure.
It's on the fence.
Yeah. It's
know.
got some of the qualities for sure. It's got the epic, it's got the storytelling. Grandfather, tell me a story.
Right.
There.
Yeah.
Well, these are my 2 favorites. Into Glory Ride, Hail to England. March for Revenge, Bridge of Death, Blood of My Enemies. God, so good. And this is the last one I'm going to show. I did show Omen earlier, so I'm not going to show that. I don't know if you want to call this power metal, but it's top 5 album for me. From the US, Fate's Warnings, Awaken the Guardian.
I was wondering if that was going to get brought up too.
Yep, that's another one.
Goddamn perfect 10 out of 10 record for me.
Well, it's a fantastic album in it, but it's a line straddler as far as the power metal thing goes.
Yeah, I mean, it checks a lot of boxes. It really does check a lot of boxes.
Enough to bring it up and mention it, for sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Absolutely.
And, since I'm reading the Fates Warning book, I'm almost done with it. And, it was really cool reading about the times that they put this thing together. Awaken is God. It is, Jason. Yeah. Completely correct. There is very few other albums out there that have such a mystical quality as this thing.
Did I tell you I got to meet John Arch last month?
You
cool.
did. That's awesome. Wow.
The funny thing is that he didn't he was just like, "Hey man, what's up? My name's John." Like, didn't mention anything about who he was.
Totally humble. Yeah,
it wasn't until hours later, and there was a guy standing next to me saying, "I can't believe John fucking Arch is right fucking there." So I was like, "Oh my god, I was talking to John Arch." That's how cool that guy is.
Yeah, man, and I love his EP, and I love the 2 albums they did with him and Jim did together.
Oh yeah, incredible.
The first one in particular is really, really good. But
I agree. Yeah.
I mean, I had to talk about it. There's just no, is it power metal? I don't know, but it's right in there for sure.
Yeah, you got to bring it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, what is power metal? I don't know. We could sit here and discuss.
I didn't expect to solve the mystery or answer the question, really.
No, it's like talking about religion or politics with somebody.
Right.
You're not gonna,
No.
you're gonna go round and round and never come up with the right answer. But
Correct.
I mean, ultimately, whether you like it or not, it all depends on you. It all depends on how much cheese you want to accept and how much you want to listen to fantastic musicianship, and just enjoy it for what it is and come away with something feeling a bit better maybe than when you went into it, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, it has a lot of the traits that we like in our other styles of heavy metal. It can be very fast, it can be aggressive, it can be catchy, it can get you throwing up, the fist and the horns. It's escapist. It's has the same kind of lyrical themes in a lot of cases. So it may be packaged a little bit differently, but it has a lot of the ingredients that will appeal to metal fans across the spectrum.
Yeah, and it definitely has its place in the metal realm. The metal world wouldn't be the same without it. Let's be honest.
You know what? There was no mention of Rage, and there's a million bands we didn't mention, and it's just it would have been a 12-hour stream. So yeah.
Right.
Oh.
I'm just going to show while you talk.
Well, here, I'm going to blow you up.
Someone asked for Twisted Tower Dire.
Oh, yeah. Okay, good one.
Celador. Kellen mentioned Hellstar earlier.
Hellstar rule.
Yep.
Wuthering Heights out of the UK.
Thank you for turning me on to them. That's good shit.
Great Australian prog into the power metal spectrum. Norwegian proggy power metal. So I'm just going to keep going until somebody talks or shuts me up. Kate, San Diego, great Judas Priest clone. Fun band. I didn't mention Camelot. That was good.
Yeah.
Nightwish. You have this whole kind of female operatic version.
That again one is another one that's like on the fence to me, but worth mentioning.
Yeah, some people don't like that. Others dig it. We didn't talk about Storm Warrior out of Germany. We didn't talk about
speed metal
Asia Project.
Got more? Is there more?
I'll stop.
It never ends. It's an endless pile.
Well, that's it. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you guys. I appreciate the hell out of you guys. Always. Thank you for the opportunity.
You're very welcome, and we appreciate the hell out of you, and we appreciate the hell out of everybody watching tonight. Thank you for hanging out with us, and thank you for going. And some of you went and bought some Ironflame while we were chatting, and that is very cool.
Thank you very much.
Out if you haven't, folks. It is a great, great album. It'll be one of the best of the year, I think, when all is said and done.
He's got 4 really good albums, plus a bunch of other bands as well. Definitely go blow up his Bandcamp and show him some love for sure. He took some time out of his day after coming off of a long trip to be with us, and we really appreciate it. But Alan, production notes.
I'm losing my voice, so I will actually let you cover production notes.
The album club returns next week with Vicious Rumors. We'll be covering Digital Dictator on Wednesday night. I haven't listened to it yet. Next Friday, I don't know yet. We'll see. It'll be an adventure. And don't hang up, Andrew. We're going to talk afterwards in the dugout after I go pee. But thank you, everybody. Happy birthday, Glenn. Happy birthday, Scott. Belated birthday to you. TJ, listen to some power metal and smile, you old bastard.
Thank you, Tim Saunders. Thank you.
Amazing album. I love it. Which one are we talking about here?
You don't know. I lost track.
I lost track. I was Seventh Wonder. Anyway, cheers, everybody. We love you. Take care.
Cheers.
Have a good one.
Have a good weekend, folks.